Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, Shinigami I am Uchiha Madara. Chapter 61. Instructor Shinigami stood on the podium. He picked up the list of students, slightly pushed the glasses on the bridge of his nose, and immediately called out the name of a student. Kato Dan. After being called by the instructor, a young man who was chatting and laughing had a dull expression. He opened his mouth in surprise, his face pale. God seems to have made a joke with Duan Kato, and made him the first person to eat crabs. Of course, this seemingly opportunity to shine often ends in tragedy. Time passed by, and the classroom was silent, revealing a depressive atmosphere that made people breathless. Kato Dan. Seeing that no one stood up, the mentor frowned slightly, as if a little displeased. Those two stern gazes swept over every student's face, and finally settled on the pale-faced Kato Taka. You are Kato Dan, right? Come to the podium and give a demonstration, don't waste the time of the students. The instructor didn't show any kindness to Kato Dan, but reprimanded him in full view. Kato Duan lowered his head, and there was a hot feeling on his face. He could feel the eyes around him. There is sympathy and expectation, but most of them are gloating. Many people even breathed a sigh of relief secretly, because the first person was so embarrassing. If one of Hado cannot be cast smoothly, the mentality will explode in an instant. Oh, it's really bad luck for 8 lifetimes. With helpless sighs and curses, Kato Taka finally stood up. He walked to the podium in front of the eyes of all the students. Do you think he will succeed? Do you still need to ask? The word failure is already written on his face. Even I haven't mastered it yet, just rely on him. Save it. ... At the same time, whispering voices sounded from every corner of the classroom. Everyone is speculating whether Kato Taka can succeed. Yet the results were surprisingly consistent. He must fail. Kato Dan, be more confident and show everyone the results of your hard work. The instructor smiled slightly and stepped off the podium. Kato Dan's face was flushed. He felt like a clown standing on the podium, being ridiculed and ridiculed by everyone. Arms stretched out from the sleeves, fingers trembling involuntarily. Obviously, Kato Duan's mentality was on the verge of bursting. Gritting his teeth, he seemed to call out the Hado name with all his might. Breaking. One of Hado, rush. The trembling fingers pointed out in the air, as if the victory was in their hands. At this moment, the huge classroom was silent, as if time had also stood still. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. When a full 20 years passed, except for that trembling finger, the expected momentum did not appear. The result is self-evident, Kato Duan failed. Unfortunately, Kato-san, it seems that you have not mastered the number 1 Hado. The tutor shook his head in disappointment, and answered the podium again. Kato Duan's eyes were dull, and he returned to his seat dejectedly, silent. Failure is not terrible, but losing fighting spirit is the most terrible thing. Perhaps, from now on, Kato Duan will be in a slump. It is also possible to adjust your mentality and be reborn like a phoenix. However, his failure also showed that Hado is not easy to control. Next, Tony. The instructor picked up the list and quickly read out the name of the second student. A boy with small eyes stood up, shrugged his shoulders, and said confidently, "Sorry, I haven't mastered it yet." For a moment, the instructor was speechless. He didn't expect Tony Damu to admit defeat so simply and neatly. However, this behavior has been recognized by most of the students. It is better to admit failure above board than to embarrass yourself on the podium. Immediately afterwards, the instructor picked up the student list again. 3rd, 4th, 5th. As the figures of the students stepped onto the podium one by one, the result remained unchanged. All failed. Every failure makes the students behind even more desperate. Even some originally capable students were affected by the atmosphere, and eventually they performed abnormally and did not perform Hado smoothly. Is there really no genius in this class of students? The instructor's eyes flickered. Of course he knew that it was very difficult. The reason why students are still allowed to try is mainly to discover talented students. Once the talented students are discovered, they can focus on training them. In a blink of an eye, there were only 2 names left on the student list. Urahara Kazuki, Uchiha Madara. The two sat peacefully in the corner of the classroom, unmoved at all. Even if all the students fail, it will not be able to cause fluctuations in their mood. Urahara Kazuki. The instructor read out the next name. Oh, it's finally my turn. If even I fail, guess what kind of expression the instructor will have. Urahara Kazuki gave Uchiha Madara a meaningful smile. Immediately, he stood up chicly and walked towards the podium. Student Urahara Kazuki, please show everyone the results of your hard work. Despite anticipating the end of failure, the mentor still holds on to the last glimmer of hope. However, Urahara Kazuki made an unexpected move. Urahara Kazuki raised his hands high and innocently said, "I'm sorry, but I don't have the number 1 Hado either." "Oh, you go down." The instructor sighed in disappointment, and could only pin his hopes on the last student. Urahara Kazuki stepped off the podium with ease and shot a treacherous smile at Uchiha Madara. HMPH, what a cunning kid. Uchiha Madara snorted coldly and ignored Urahara Kazuki. He wasn't surprised by Urahara Kazuki's behavior. Because geniuses are called geniuses because they can often do unexpected things. After Urahara Kazuki failed, only Uchiha Madara remained on the cadet list. You don't even need to name everyone to know it's Uchiha Madara. Dozens of eyes focused on Uchiha Madara, eager to know the result. Once successful, the scenery is unlimited. Once it fails, the whole army is wiped out. The instructor picked up the list of students and finally read out the last name. Uchiha Madara. The audience is watching, all eyes are on Uchiha Madara, as if pouring all hope. Looking at the figure of Uchiha Madara, a ray of hope flashed in the depths of Shinigami teacher's pupils. For some reason, he always felt that this confident young man could perform miracles. Genius, often by surprise. Pat, ignoring the gazes around him, Uchiha Madara took the first step. Tall and straight posture, steady pace, confident gaze. Invisibly, Uchiha Madara gave everyone a sense of certainty. This feeling is not sudden, but natural. That unique temperament left an indelible impression on everyone's hearts, and everything was natural. Can he really succeed? This idea popped up in everyone's mind at the same time. Although they instinctively believed that Uchiha Madara could do it, the tragedy of the near-total annihilation left them skeptical. Can it be successful? For Uchiha Madara, the answer to this conundrum came easily. I come, I see, I conquer. There is nothing he can't do, just because he is Uchiha Madara. The atmosphere is oppressive, giving people a heavy sense of suffocation. The spacious classroom is like the dark night, and all the eyes condensed on Uchiha Madara are like looking for the dawn in the dark night. Gradually, Uchiha Madara has come to the podium. If it were another person, I'm afraid he would have been breathless under the pressure of dozens of gazes, but Uchiha Madara didn't change his face. He was blind to this level of oppression. When he was in the ninja world, Uchiha Madara once stood on top of 10 tails and confronted tens of thousands of ninja coalition forces, and he was still calm and calm. One man guards the gate, supercilious. Uchiha Madara stood on the podium indifferently, and the innate hockey eyes glanced down. Whenever his gaze stayed on a certain face, that student would always bow his head involuntarily, avoiding eye contact with Madara. Invisible hockey, intimidating. Uchiha Madara, show everyone the fruits of your hard work. A curve was raised at the corner of Shinigami's teacher's mouth, and he even showed a smile. In his opinion, perhaps Uchiha Madara could really perform miracles and become the first genius to master Hado. Uchiha Madara nodded, stretched out her finger calmly, and pointed out in the air. One of Hado, rush. Ever since, under everyone's unbelievable gazes, a blast of air shot out from his fingertips and quickly hit the wall. At this moment, everything was silent, and there was only deathly silence in the classroom of New Oda. The students were silent, the instructor was silent, and even the air fell into silence. Time seemed to freeze, and there was no other sound. Only the silent emotion. He actually did it. It is precisely because the result cannot be guessed that the greatest shock will come. All the students had wonderful expressions on their faces. There was shock, there was horror, but more of envy. Uchiha Madara actually did it. Card wipe. With a crisp sound, the wall actually cracked a gap. Cracks were densely covered, spreading around like a spider web. Wow! Suddenly, there was an uproar. Uchiha Madara was not only able to realize the number 1 Hado, but also was so powerful that he could even rival his mentor. Genius, a rare genius. Instructor Shinigami looked at Uchiha Madara with a smile, and did not hesitate to comment on him. To be reasonable, there are very few students who can achieve this level on the first day of enrollment. Oh my god, I'm not mistaken, he actually did it. It was a shock, he was like a monster. To be able to possess this kind of talent, he must be a big shot in Gote 13 in the future. It seems that we need to curry favor with him and hold his thigh in advance. All kinds of discussions came and went, and the students had different mentalities and ideas. Some people are sincerely happy for Uchiha Madara, while some people also take a cold-eyed attitude, and many people even have the idea of hugging their thighs. In this way, Uchiha Madara was dubbed a genius. From an unknown student, he suddenly became a rising star of Gote 13. However, in the face of countless fiery gazes, Uchiha Madara never changed his face. Glory is false and praise superfluous. A genius or not, that doesn't matter. Only power is a reality within reach. As long as the power is mastered, this is enough. Uchiha Madara stepped off the podium without any proud expression from the beginning to the end. There was no emotion on that grim face. This appearance made him even more mysterious. Oh, what a great show, Uchiha Madara. Urahara Kazuki pretended to be surprised and smiled, but Uchiha Madara gave him a cold look. Don't look at me with such terrifying eyes, it doesn't match the title of genius. Although it sounded a little scared in the words, Urahara Kazuki still had that expression of carelessness. There is some obvious contrast between the two of them. A person with a cold appearance who rejects people thousands of miles away. The other is always looking lazy. However, the two have one characteristic in common. That is equally full of mystery. Unfortunately, only Uchiha Madara knew that Urahara Kazuki was hiding his clumsiness. Otherwise the shock would have been more intense. Gradually, the uproar subsided, and the classroom returned to a peaceful atmosphere. The disappointment on the face of Instructor Shinigami disappeared, and he said happily, "First of all, I would like to praise student Uchiha Madara for being able to master the number. Work harder and you will succeed. The first session is over, and you must have realized the power of Hado. Next, I will take you to another place. There I will show Shinigami's most proud technique, Shunpo. Shunpo is one of the skills that Shinigami must master. It is also a very practical method. Once you can master Shunpo proficiently, your combat power will increase rapidly." The teacher Shinigami's voice sounded, and he explained patiently, lest the students misunderstand Shunpo. The place where they are located is another room, which is several times larger than the original classroom. More importantly, the layout of the entire classroom is unique. The classroom is divided into two parts, one is an open ground, and the other is a small lake. There are several wooden planks floating above the lake, the purpose is to serve as a foothold. See those planks, they are temporary footholds. The purpose of bringing you here is to practice your Shunpo skills. Simply put, stand on the planks and keep still. The Shinigami teacher pointed to the wooden board on the lake, and opened his mouth incessantly. Looking at the thin wooden board, many students showed embarrassment and complained, "How can this be done? Let alone whether you can stand on it, there is no way to go over it. Since the ground is a certain distance from where the board is, it is almost impossible to step on the board unless you can move instantly. That's what I came here for today. You think it's hard, don't you? But it seems to me that it's even easier than walking." Before teacher Shinigami could finish his words, his figure had already appeared on one of the wooden boards. The plank floated smoothly on the water, with a circle of chains appearing from time to time. Instructor Shinigami was calm, not worried about the board sinking at all. God, how is this possible? Is this teleportation? The students exclaimed for a while, they thought it was impossible to achieve this level of idleness. Yes, in fact, to a certain extent, Shunpo can also be called teleportation. It uses Reiatsu's condensation to move at a high speed in an instant. Instructor Shinigami calmly explained. It is not difficult to achieve this, the essence lies in the moment of high-speed exercise, you must master the Reiatsu in your body. Before the words were finished, his figure reappeared in front of the students, and this scene immediately made the students' eyes burst into a brighter light. Compared to the cool Kido, perhaps Shunpo is more attractive. After all, this method of coming and going without a trace looks more lofty and mysterious. Okay, hurry up and try. After some careful teaching, the instructor did not embarrass the students this time. Because it is undoubtedly a difficult thing to control Shunpo in the first place. So he let the students practice, but turned his attention to Uchiha Madara. After that stunning demonstration earlier, Uchiha Madara has risen to a certain height in the heart of the Shinigami mentor. If I can train him carefully, then once he successfully graduates from the Junyang Lingyuan Academy, my reputation will be improved to a certain extent in the future. The corner of Shinigami's teacher's mouth curled up. As the saying goes, a famous teacher produces a good student, and no matter who he is, he has vanity. Unfortunately, he thought Uchiha Madara too simply. As early as Hueco Mundo, Uchiha Madara has already mastered the ring rotation, and he himself has mastered the ninja-specific body flicker technique, not to mention that he spent 3 months with Aceto, so he wants to comprehend Shunpo is also a no-brainer. As early as when Master Shinigami cast Shunpo for the first time, Uchiha Madara had once again seen clearly the flow of Reiatsu in his body through 3 Tomo Sharingan. Uchiha Madara, you look relaxed, don't you? Urahara Kazuki approached Uchiha Madara pretending to be mysterious, with a sinister arc on the corner of his mouth, and said quietly, you didn't know Shunpo just by looking at it again, did you? Uchiha Madara was silent and did not respond to Urahara Kazuki's teasing. However, Urahara Kazuki has read everything through his eyes. He shrugged and said helplessly, oh, what a monster. I am under a lot of pressure to get along with a genius like you. Suddenly, Uchiha Madara seemed to remember something, and asked, Urahara Kazuki, do you know how long it takes to graduate from Mao Academy? Urahara Kazuki scratched his head and said, well, it varies from person to person. Of course, the time to graduate is different for different talents. It may take at least 5 years for the average person. But, Urahara Kazuki paused for a moment, frowned slightly, and said in a deep voice, of course, there are also some monsters who successfully graduated from Maoling Academy after only 1 year. 1 year, Uchiha Madara's pupils shrank slightly. It is not an easy task to systematically master all the basic skills of Shinigami within a year. Kido, Shunpo, / white hits. As long as you reach the peak in any field, you can become the famous powerhouse of Gotei 13. It's a pity that there are only a handful of people who can do it. What's the matter, Uchiha Madara, do you want to graduate from Mao in 1 year too? Urahara Kazuki smiled and said, tisk tisk, this is something that only a genius born once in 100 years can do. It's really hard to do, but, who can say clearly about the time in the future? Uchiha Madara murmured under his breath. 1 year to graduate, only a genius born once in 100 years can do it. Well, I'm going to crush everyone's notions with the facts. The world will no longer be viewed with humility, it will seem more normal to see the world as a game. Time is like sand and stones flowing at the fingertips, passing away quietly inadvertently. In a blink of an eye, night fell. In the dark night sky, a round of bright moon hangs high in the sky, and the soft moonlight pours down on the earth, reflecting the hazy beauty. The stars twinkled and shone with blazing light. A gust of cold wind blew past, breaking the tranquil and peaceful atmosphere. In a dark aisle, Uchiha Madara walked alone in the aisle. His figure formed a black shadow under the moonlight, revealing an inexplicable loneliness. In this world dominated by Shinigami and Hollow, no one can read Uchiha Madara's mind. Even if you have nothing and start all over again, the only thing that has not been cut off is still the fetters that have been engraved in your heart. Memories will eventually be washed away by time, but the fetters are eternal. A deep bond becomes a bond, and a bond can never be severed. Even if you are separated by thousands of miles, or have opposing positions, the bond must exist in some form. Uchiha Madara stopped and looked up at the starry sky, his eyes were filled with the bright moon. But in the center of the bright moon, 2 faces appeared vaguely. You said that you long for a peaceful starry sky, just like our common dream. Now, look up at the night sky, but there is nothing in the night sky except darkness. I want to look into your eyes, but I don't know where you are, and I don't know if the bond we used to have exists, alas. With a heavy sigh, as if expressing the loss in his heart, Uchiha Madara suppressed the fluctuating emotions and continued to take steps. When the whole day's class is over, the instructor assigns each student a dormitory. Because the Junyang Lingyuan Academy is too big, because the scale of the dormitory is also very large. So every student was assigned a small room individually. For Uchiha Madara, being able to have a small room alone is the most appropriate thing. After all, there is a void in his body that cannot be erased. Once it is exposed, the Soul Society will probably do everything in its power to obliterate him. Through a winding path, Uchiha Madara finally came to his dormitory. This single small room is not large, but it has a unique style. The simple decoration looks high-end, a wooden table, a bed, and the bright lamp hanging above the head. Creak. Uchiha Madara closed the door and just sat cross-legged on the ground. During the whole day class, the instructor not only taught Shunpo, but also taught Hado 1 to 10. Of course, in the face of students who have not even mastered the first Hado, the Shinigami instructor does not expect them to be able to master the second Hado. However, Uchiha Madara is still easily mastered by 3 Tomo Sharingan. 1 of Hado, Rush. Hado number 4, Shirai. Uchiha Madara played the top 10 Hado lightly, seemingly effortlessly. Thinking of ninjutsu, Hado's power seems to be stronger. It's just, what kind of power will Hado above number 90 have, which is really exciting. Feeling the power of Hado, Uchiha Madara is interested in Hado after the 90th. But he is not in a hurry. After all, strength cannot be acquired overnight, but can only be accumulated through years of accumulation. However, Uchiha Madara is still confident in graduating from Maoling Academy in 1 year. Entering Gotei 13 to become the seat officer and challenge a more powerful opponent is Madara's final idea. But the only problem that bothers Uchiha Madara is the void in his body. Although relying on the ability of 3 Tomo Sharingan, Uchiha Madara has been able to perfectly control Reiatsu in the body. The imaginary rage Reiatsu has gradually become gentle and stable, but there are always flaws. It may be able to disguise well in front of ordinary Shinigami, but it will be exposed in front of the real strong. What made Madara even more troublesome was the empty hole in front of her chest. Perhaps after awakening Zanpakuto's ability, Reiatsu will improve. Somehow, Uchiha Madara always had a strong instinct that Shinigami's Zanpakuto ability would bring him unexpected surprises. Uchiha Madara took off the snake-shaped long sword hanging from his waist and placed it flat in front of his body. An inexplicable light flashed in his eyes. This ordinary purple long sword is the product left over from the evolution of Susanoo's form. Although the appearance is ordinary, Madara can vaguely feel that there is a mysterious energy in it. This is why Uchiha Madara has been looking forward to the appearance of Zanpakuto. Once he has the sealed state, he will fuse the snake-shaped long sword with the sealed state. Maybe then the Zanpakuto ability will be awakened. Uchiha Madara stroked the blade. He didn't know whether it was an illusion or a real feeling, but he could feel a resonance. This feeling is very special, as if he has an innate blood with him. At this moment, there was a sound from the next room. This movement, is it Urahara Kazuki? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly, because he once remembered that the dormitory assigned by Urahara Kazuki was next door to him. And from this movement, it can be sensed that Urahara Kazuki seems to be going out. An inexplicable light flashed in Uchiha Madara's eyes, and he decided to follow Urahara Kazuki to unravel his secrets. Possessing a good Reiatsu and mastering the basic Hado, the identity of Urahara Kazuki is by no means simple. After confirming that Urahara Kazuki had left, Uchiha Madara walked out of the room. He is not afraid of Urahara Kazuki disappearing, and with 3 Tomo Sharingan, he can always lock Urahara Kazuki's Reiatsu. Under the night, 2 figures walked one behind the other, leaving Junyang Lingyuan Academy, all the way to the suburbs. Gradually, I didn't know how far I walked, and finally came to an extremely remote place, but there was a secret base hidden here. Oh, it's finally here. Urahara Kazuki stretched and said lazily. His sonorous voice suddenly broke the silence of the night. Squeak. Suddenly, the door of the secret base was pushed open, and a Meowman figure walked out from it. Her long, smooth purple hair was tied into a ponytail, her golden eyes contained a special charm, and her brown skin added a touch. This is a beautiful woman in a tight suit, and more importantly, her identity is very special. One of the 4 major families of the Soul Society, the eldest lady of the Shihuin family. Shihuin Yoruichi. Shihuin Yoruichi, her status is very special, even noble. Corpse Yoruichi is the princess of the Shihuin family, one of the 4 great nobles in the Soul World, TNC Bingzhuang Fan. As the next head of Shihuan, Yoruichi has the purest noble blood flowing through his body. She is very talented, she has received strict training since she was a child, and she even showed her extraordinary talent on Shunpo. Urahara Kazuki, why did you come here so late? The agreed training time has already passed. Yoruichi's personality is easygoing and cheerful, but there is a bit of masculinity, just like a female man. Ah, I'm really sorry, Ms. Yoruichi. Today is the first day to report to the Maoling Academy, so I was delayed a little bit of time. Urahara Kazuki scratched his head in embarrassment. From his tone it could be heard that he and Yoruichi had known each other for a long time. In fact, Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi have known each other since childhood, and they have a close relationship with each other, and they can even be called childhood friends. This is also the reason why Urahara Kazuki has shown extraordinary talent. In addition to his amazing talent, it is largely because of Yoruichi. As the apple of the eye of the Shihuan family, Yoruichi has been given the best training conditions since he was a child. Whether it is Shunpo or Kido, there are dedicated teachers to teach. Therefore, Yoruichi has won at the starting line since he was a child, and his strength is far above his peers. He is a well-deserved genius. Under Yoruichi's influence, Urahara Kazuki also pioneered basic techniques such as Kido and Shunpo. Although Urahara Kazuki looks carefree on the surface, he has a persistent heart. It doesn't matter if you start low. With his deliberate efforts and Yoruichi's guidance, Urahara Kazuki's strength has grown by leaps and bounds. The reason why I joined the Shinigami Academy was not only to hold the idea of systematically learning Shinigami skills, but more importantly, to join Gotei 13. Join the Gotei 13 and become a true Shinigami, which is the dream of all Soul Society, and Urahara Kazuki is no exception. This secret stronghold is where the two of them practiced. It turned out that I went to Junyang Lingyuan to report. What, did you find anything unexpected? Yoruichi put his arms around Urahara Kazuki's shoulder boldly and asked, strangling his neck. Urahara Kazuki broke free from Yoruichi's arm and complained, Miss Yoruichi, can you do this every time? After all, you are also Shihuan's eldest lady, really. So what? My character is like this, I don't want to be bound by too many rules. A triumphant smile curled up on Yoruichi's mouth, as if he would love to see Urahara Kazuki embarrassed. She paused. Her eyes seemed to be looking at the hidden forest behind Urahara Kazuki, and then she smiled and said, but then again, is there anyone interesting? Ah, interesting person. There is a guy. Even I can't see through that guy. Uchiha Madara's face came to mind, and Urahara Kazuki's expression became serious. Reasonably, he thinks that Uchiha Madara is too mysterious. Although Madara did not reveal it on purpose, Urahara Kazuki still feels that there are many secrets hidden in Madara. You mean the guy in the back? Suddenly, what Shihuan Yoruichi said made Urahara Kazuki's face change suddenly. The guy in the back. You mean? Urahara Kazuki immediately thought that he was being followed. How is this possible? I was very cautious along the way. Urahara Kazuki turned around abruptly, staring intently at the woods behind him, where Uchiha Madara was hiding. Come out. Shihuan Yoruichi smiled amusedly, and she also relied on her keen senses to detect the existence of Uchiha Madara. The night was hazy, the atmosphere was dignified, and the woods were silent. Finally, a crisp footstep broke the silence. Pat. Taking a step forward, the figure of Uchiha Madara appeared in the vision of the two. Uchiha Madara, it's you. Urahara Kazuki opened his mouth in surprise, he didn't expect to be followed by Uchiha Madara. Tisk tisk, it seems that you are the funny guy that Urahara Kazuki said. Shihuan Yoruichi's eyes kept moving on Urahara Kazuki. She really wanted to see the details of Uchiha Madara, but unfortunately she found nothing. Uchiha Madara's eyes are like a pool of clear springs. His temperament is outstanding but cast a layer of mystery. Sure enough, an interesting guy. I'm Shihuan Yoruichi, how about you? Yoruichi took the initiative to say hello to Uchiha Madara, and she was impressed by Uchiha Madara even though she only met once. Uchiha Madara. Madara stepped forward and said calmly, no wonder Urahara Kazuki has good strength. It seems that you are the partner behind the scenes. Oh, since you found out, it's not a secret. That's right, I usually train in this secret base with Ms. Yoruichi. Urahara Kazuki shrugged, looking helpless. Although this place is relatively simple, it is still a good training place. I wonder if you are interested in joining us. Shihoin Yoruichi took the initiative to invite Uchiha Madara. From her eyes, it is natural to see that Madara has extraordinary talent. In addition, she has a good impression of Ban, so it is a matter of course. Training together, Uchiha Madara hesitated, uncertain in his eyes. It wasn't that he didn't want to accept the invitation, but that he was afraid of revealing his identity. Although his control over Reiatsu was perfect, there was always a gap that remained unresolved. Although Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi seem harmless, once their identities are exposed, it is another matter. Urahara Kazuki and Shihoin Yoruichi were silent, their eyes filled with anticipation. The eyes of the three intertwined in midair, with an inexplicable taste. Ultimately, Uchiha Madara made his choice. Let's go, let me see what the so-called training ground looks like. Urahara Kazuki and Yoruichi smiled at the same time. Under their leadership, the three walked into the secret stronghold together. Long Chong-yi, all three of them spent time in training. In a blink of an eye, time flies, and soon came the morning. A brand new day means a fresh start. And this day is also the most anticipated day for all students, because they will soon be able to get their dream sealed state. Sealed state, that is, Zanpakuto was the name before Shikai. For every Shinigami, the sealed state is just a prototype, not the real Zanpakuto. Unless imbued by its owner with its own spirit, beliefs, and become the only Zanpakuto. Each sealed state is a standard samurai sword, with different lengths and sharpness. For the students of Shinigami Academy, being able to have a sealed state means that they are officially on the road to becoming a real Shinigami. As long as you have a sealed state, you can inject your own soul. With the accumulation of time, the power of the soul will continue to increase, until one day you can call out the name of Zanpakuto, which means that Zanpakuto is truly awakened. In the early morning of the second day, the rising sun poured down on the earth, and all things were reborn. On the road leading to Junyang Lingyuan Academy, two figures walked together. Uchiha Madara, Urahara Kazuki. Uchiha Madara, I can't see that your Reiatsu is so strong, even Ms. Yoruichi can't compare to you. Urahara Kazuki shook his head helplessly. Whether it is Uchiha Madara or Shihoin Yoruichi, in his eyes, they are all monsters, and their talents are terrifying. It seems that I will work harder in the future, so I can't hold you back. Despite what he said, Urahara Kazuki was still acting like a fool, and it was obvious that he didn't care. Urahara Kazuki, are you looking forward to today? Uchiha Madara stopped suddenly and stared deeply at Urahara Kazuki. How should I put it, I have a lot of confidence in my Zanpakuto. Not to mention being comparable to a famous sword like Ryujin Jaka, it will definitely have powerful abilities. To be fair, Urahara Kazuki is also looking forward to it, but not worried at all. Because Zanpakuto is infused with a trace of the soul of the master, because it has the characteristics of the master. Urahara Kazuki has always held the heart of a strong man, so he is naturally full of confidence. He approached Uchiha Madara and asked in a low voice, "What about you? Have you ever wondered what Zanpakuto would look like? I have a hunch that my Zanpakuto is a beautiful girl. What does Zanpakuto look like?" Uchiha Madara's eyes flickered, and he fell into confusion for a while. CCBI, to be honest, even he himself has no clue about Zanpakuto. Who is the three-dimensional form of Zanpakuto? Madara can't even guess. Let's go, time will reveal the answer. Urahara Kazuki smiled and quickened his pace. True Yongling Academy. It was still the familiar classroom, but the atmosphere was completely different. If the students came to this classroom for the first time with a curious and unknown attitude, then this time it is with an expectant attitude. Both Hado and Shunpo are just combat skills that Shinigami need to master, and only Zanpakuto is the real core of Shinigami. Different Zanpakuto have different abilities. Just like the strongest Zanpakuto, Ryujin Jaka, of the fire department, the strongest Zanpakuto, Hirinmaru, of the ice department, Zanpakuto, Shinso, of the physics department, and so on. The Zanpakuto are divided into factions with different abilities. Dear students, I think you are also looking forward to today. Yes, from now on, you will have your own Zanpakuto. Although awakening still needs a process, as long as you work hard enough, I believe this process will not be too difficult. Long. Instructor Shinigami had a warm smile on his face, and he could see the intense anticipation on these young faces. This scene made teacher Shinigami feel emotional. Unknowingly, the Shinigami teacher recalled the scene of youth. At the beginning, he also had the same mood, and when he held the handle of the sealed state sword, he was even more ecstatic. Kangdang. With a backhand wave, Shinigami teacher pulled back the cloth on the table. In an instant, dozens of sealed states of different colors were neatly placed on the wooden table. These sealed states are only temporarily lent out so that you can awaken Zanpakuto during the years of practicing at Mao Academy. Only at the moment of graduation will this sealed state truly belong to you. I believe that by then, you must have awakened Zanpakuto. Instructor Shinigami picked up the list of students and said solemnly, once the students whose names are called by me, come up in order to receive the sealed state. First, Taka Kato. Second place, Nozomi Sasaki. As the names sounded one by one, the trainees walked up to the podium with indescribable emotions, and excitedly took over the sealed state from the instructor Shinigami. Touch the blade, love it. After receiving the sealed state, every student showed a bright smile on his face. The long-awaited moment, this feeling is the most wonderful. Gradually, most of the students also received their own sealed state. Urahara Kazuki. After being called, Urahara Kazuki calmly took the sealed state from the mentor, with a hint of anticipation in his eyes. Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara also got his own sealed state. He gripped the handle of the knife tightly, expressionless. So that's all for today. Go back and get familiar with the sealed state as soon as possible. Following the order of the Shinigami instructor, the students disbanded. In a blink of an eye, night fell. In the dead of night, Uchiha Madara sat alone in the middle of the dormitory. He placed the sealed state on top of his legs, with his hands flat on the blade. The cold blade conveyed an indescribable feeling. At this time, Uchiha Madara took out the snake-shaped longsword, and with a thought, a strong reiatsu enveloped the snake-shaped longsword. In an instant, the purple long sword became increasingly dim, as if it was about to disappear. By the end, the entire room was enveloped in a rich purple reiatsu. Under Uchiha Madara's control, all reiatsu condensed into a purple beam of light pouring into the sealed state. ZZZ. When reiatsu is fully injected, the surface of the sealed state flashes a purple luster. Blended smoothly. At this time, Uchiha Madara closed her eyes, pouring the reiatsu in her body into the sealed state continuously. With the infusion of reiatsu, there seems to be an unknown resonance. This feeling is very mysterious, as if entering another spiritual space. In fact, Uchiha Madara accidentally entered the state of Knife Zen, and broke into the spiritual space belonging to Zanpakuto by mistake. The moment Uchiha Madara opened his eyes, he found himself in another mysterious space. More importantly, a figure wearing a black cloak appeared in front of him. Uchiha Madara opened his eyes, only to find that he came to another space. The sky was pitch black, save for an icy cold moon. The pale moonlight shines on the earth, and the surroundings are silent, only the silence of death. This oppressive atmosphere made people faintly breathless, and was filled with an inexplicable memory. The endless desert, the impenetrable desolation. Whenever a piercing peak blows past, there will be a creepy sandstorm. That's right, here is the Hueco Mundo that once made Uchiha Madara unforgettable. This is the virtual circle. Looking at the familiar scene in front of him, Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. He didn't expect Zanpakuto's mental space to be Hueco Mundo. This is a place without any rules, without any restraints, only the bloody killing, 3 zeros, and the strong prey on the weak. Death is nothing more than a commonplace thing here. In Hueco Mundo, power is the only thing worth chasing. Even though everything was so familiar, Uchiha Madara still felt something was wrong, and there seemed to be an indescribable feeling lurking in the air. Uchiha Madara took a step and stepped on the desert. He kept moving forward, as if he wanted to reach the end of the desert. The footprints of those feet gradually converge into a straight line, like a life trajectory, and the figure of Uchiha Madara is like a boat lost in the vast sand sea. Where is the road ahead? There is no end in sight. Confused, lost, indescribable feeling. Perhaps only by going to the end of the desert can we find something really worth following. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. Uchiha Madara always keeps his heart like Shisui, and he knows that Hueco Mundo is not what he needs. Because deep in his heart he was disgusted with this barbaric life that only had fighting. Uchiha Madara simply did not want to live in a cruel world bathed in blood and killing. What he was really after was peace and tranquility. Therefore, Chiba Madara has a strong intuition. Once he walks to the end of this desert, he can see what his heart really wants to get. The cold wind howls, the sand flies, and even Uchiha Madara's black hair flutters in the wind. Gradually, he has traveled through most of the desert. Although the night is still hazy, the scenery has not changed. But the intuition in my heart is getting stronger and stronger. The heart is chasing, the dream is dragging, the pace is gradually accelerating, and the breathing is getting heavier and heavier. Eventually, Uchiha Madara came to the end of the desert. When he saw the scene in front of him, his expression was stunned, and his heart was touched at this moment. It was a dilapidated village. Although it was small in size, it had a unique style. What touched Uchiha Madara most was the scene at the entrance of the village. A dilapidated stone tablet stands on the barren land, and the pattern engraved on the stone tablet is so familiar. Uchiha fan. The Uchiha fan is a symbol of the Uchiha clan, and it will never be forgotten for a lifetime. As a symbol of the Uchiha clan, the round fan can be used to fan the wind and increase the temperature of the flame, which symbolizes the clan members' proficient use of fire-style ninjutsu. Therefore, the round fan is not only its family emblem, but also symbolizes its good at fire style, implying the round fan that manipulates flames, and is known as Uchiha. I really didn't expect to be able to come back to this place again. There are endless emotions in Uchiha Madara's words. After many years of absence, he finally returned to the place where the dream originated, the old site of Uchiha. Suppressing fluctuating emotions, Uchiha Madara walked into the village. He found that the surroundings were still familiar and had not changed over time. The red houses are neatly distributed in every corner of the village. Although the houses are high and low, the pattern is exactly the same. More importantly, there is a pattern of round fans engraved in front of the door of each house. The pale moonlight poured on these houses, reflecting slanting shadows on the ground, as if there was an indescribable loneliness. Although the Uchiha clan was once famous in the ninja world and possessed great power, they still cannot withstand the erosion of time. A gust of cold wind blows, and the dust on the steps flies. Suddenly, there was an ancient and bleak smell in the air. Alas, no one can stay on top forever. Not even Shendu. The only thing you can control is your own destiny. Uchiha Madara sighed heavily, and walked towards the center of the village. There stood a huge house, which was more magnificent than the surrounding houses. The altar of the Uchiha clan. In that long time of chaos, any major event in the clan needed to be discussed at the altar to express respect for the gods. Finally here, this is where I want to be fascinated. Stepping forward without hesitation, when Uchiha Madara just stepped into the room, his sight stopped in the middle of the room. A figure in a black robe appeared there. This figure was completely hidden under the black robe, and his face could not be seen clearly at all. What shocked Uchiha Madara the most was that the opponent held an identical sealed state in his hand. "Are you my Zanpakuto soul?" Only Uchiha Madara's voice echoed in the empty room, making it extremely loud. The black shadow didn't answer right away. Instead, he firmly held the handle of the sealed state knife, and even swung the blade to point at Uchiha Madara. Wordless response, only the most primitive provocation. "Sure enough, do I have to beat you to gain Zanpakuto's approval?" "That's funny." The corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth raised an arc. At this moment, he felt the blood in his body constantly tumbling, and the feeling of boiling blood reappeared. Shunpo. Uchiha Madara held the sealed state tightly, and instantly appeared in front of the black shadow, slashing down with a sharp blade mercilessly. Boom. The black shadow reacted quickly. He swung the sealed state backhand, and blocked the slash at the last moment. Not only that, he swung his arm and took the opportunity to shock Uchiha Madara back. Sure enough, the strength is strong, but, can you block this move? Uchiha Madara put away Zanpakuto, made mudras with both hands, and chose to perform ninjutsu. Si Wei Shen Hai Wu Yin. Fire style, great fireball technique. Just as the flame was about to spit out from his mouth, Uchiha Madara saw a scene that made him unbelievable. That figure formed the same seal with both hands, and unexpectedly also displayed the Great Fireball technique. How is it possible? You know the Great Fireball technique. Uchiha Madara's pupils contracted suddenly. No matter what, he didn't expect this scene. The soul of Zanpakuto would actually perform ninjutsu. Boom! 2 blazing fireballs spit out from their mouths, and the flames filled the air, causing the temperature of the entire room to rise sharply. The air seemed to be ignited by flames, making a crackling sound. The 2 fireballs collided violently, and then exploded. Numerous flames poured on the ground, illuminating the entire room. Who are you? Uchiha Madara's eyes were full of raging fire. He stared at the black shadow indifferently, and his killing intent became stronger. Inexplicably appearing in the former site of the Uchiha clan, but possessing the same ability as him, such a person is by no means an ordinary guy. More importantly, Uchiha Madara felt a Reiatsu not inferior to him from that shadow. Such an opponent is too dangerous. What is your reaction? Sure enough, I still want to kill you. Uchiha Madara didn't show any mercy. He launched a fierce attack towards the shadow again. Ninjutsu, Kido. A series of offensives blasted at the black shadow like a rainstorm of pear blossoms, but they also achieved remarkable results. The footsteps of Sombra kept retreating, and was soon cornered by Uchiha Madara. This is your full strength. It seems to be weaker than I imagined. Uchiha Madara's momentum was red. He held the hilt of the sealed state with both hands, and suppressed the opponent's sealed state firmly. However, even if he was forced into a desperate situation, that black shadow remained calm. Although the whole body is covered under the black robe, Uchiha Madara can still feel the composure of the opponent. Are you still trying to be brave? But as a person who is closely related to my soul, no matter who your real identity is, you must be very clear that this level can't do anything to me. Uchiha Madara's eyes blazed with fire. Since the opponent has the same Reiatsu as him, the only way to decide the outcome is to fight with all your strength. This is also what Uchiha Madara most desires to happen. Clang! The black shadow waved the sealed state and pushed Uchiha Madara's body away, and the two kept a certain distance and returned to the same starting line. Since the power of Shinigami cannot be used to decide the outcome, let's fight with the power of Uchiha. Uchiha Madara confidently inserts the sealed state upside down on the ground. His eyes closed slowly, and the Reiatsu in his body flowed violently. The moment Uchiha Madara opened his eyes, the depths of the pupils changed, and the 3 Tomo Sharingan emerged. However, even with the use of the trump card, Uchiha Madara's expression still changed, because he saw an unbelievable scene. I saw that black shadow lowered half of the black cloth covering his face, revealing 2 pairs of eyes. And the depths of the pupils of those 2 pairs of eyes turned out to be 3 Tomo Sharingan. If that's all, it's not enough to shock Uchiha Madara. However, he felt a long-lost familiarity from those eyes. You are. Unknowingly, Uchiha Madara's breathing became short of breath. An idea popped up in his mind, but he couldn't believe it. The same ninjutsu, the same strength, and even the same habits, only a hint of surprise appeared in his personality. He had only felt this familiar feeling of déjà vu in one figure. The face that was buried in the deepest memory was also the person I loved the most. Dearest brother, Uchiha Izuna. Sure enough, no matter how I pretend, I still can't escape your eyes. The black shadow pulled down the black robe covering his face, and said sincerely, long time no see, big brother. That immature yet somewhat resolute face, those eyes full of persistence and sincerity. Uchiha Izuna is exactly the same as back then, nothing has changed. Looking at this face that has long been engraved in the depths of his soul, Uchiha Madara's heart was touched. Once upon a time, he was also a person with great love, and his dear brother was his only bond. The 2 brothers grew up with each other, and accompanied each other on the road to becoming ghost lovers. Keep growing, open the 3 Tomo Sharingan at the same time, and even awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan at the same time. Madara and Izuna are placed high hopes by the Uchiha clan, known as the Uchiha Twin Stars. Everything would have been perfect if that accident hadn't happened. It's a pity that God always likes to make ruthless jokes. Fate will be like an invisible black hand, pulling people down the abyss at the most critical moment. In a big battle with the Senju clan, Uchiha Izuna was seriously injured by Senju Tobarama using Flying Thunder God Slash. When Hashirama said to Madara that he hoped that the two races would cooperate, Izuna strongly opposed the matter, and Madara therefore rejected Hashirama's suggestion. And Izuna died of his injuries shortly after the battle. Before his death, he dedicated his eyes to Madara, who was about to go blind due to excessive use of Sharingan, so that Madara obtained the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. It can be said that Izuna was pure in heart, possessed the spirit of dedication, and was loyal to the Uchiha clan until the last moment of his life. When he was seriously injured, Izuna was still thinking about the future of his big brother and his family, and even offered his eyes to Madara so that Madara could gain new light. And Madara was also saddened by his brother's devotion to himself and his death. Since then, Uchiha Madara has closed his heart and turned into a person who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside. Izuna's death is the most important trigger. You are still the same as before, sir. Looking at her dear brother, Uchiha Madara's emotions that had been suppressed for decades broke out completely. A long-lost sincere smile finally appeared on that cold face. This smile comes from the heart, contains unspeakable longing, and also contains love for my brother. Big brother, we finally meet again. Izuna's eyes were wet, and a tear ran across his cheek and dripped to the ground. Until the moment of his death, he did not regret what he had done. For the family, for the big brother, he was willing to sacrifice everything. I didn't expect to see you again, Izuna. No matter how resolute Uchiha Madara is, the blood of family love is always flowing in his body. When you are lonely, you still have to guard the thoughts in your heart. Where there is shadow, there must be light. No matter where you are, missing will always bring me to you, like a shadow. Just because of the bond that never let go. The inseparable fetters, but now they meet again. The once unforgettable brotherhood is finally reunited in the spiritual space of Zanpakuto. This ending was not expected by Uchiha Madara, he never imagined this scene. So you are my Zanpakuto soul. Uchiha Madara's gaze was fixed on Izuna, and a gratified smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Just like back then, the two brothers worked together and once again fought for the mighty Zanpakuto soul. Uchiha Izuna hesitated for a moment, the smile on the corner of his mouth paused, and his expression became hesitant. What's wrong? Looking at Izuna's expression, Uchiha Madara had a bad feeling in his heart. Intuition told him that it was not as simple as he imagined. Could it be? Uchiha Madara's heart was a little shaken, even hiding a trace of fear. He was afraid that what happened in front of him was just a flash in the pan. If Uchiha Izuna is not his Zanpakuto soul, then there is a good chance that they will never see each other again, which is the last thing Madara wants to see. You guessed it right, big brother. After a moment of silence, Uchiha Izuna finally spoke the truth. I am not your Zanpakuto soul, but a virtual force that is the opposite of Shinigami. What? Void power? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. He was sure that this was the soul space of Zanpakuto, but why would there be virtual power? Puzzled. Have you forgotten that snake-shaped sword that belongs to Susanoo? What Uchiha Izuna said suddenly caught Uchiha Madara's eyes. At the moment when he transformed into Kikian, that serpentine long sword has been with him like a shadow. Along the way, Uchiha Madara has been able to feel the mysterious power contained in the snake-shaped long sword, but he can't solve this mysterious power. Now the truth is finally revealed. It turns out to be the calendar area owned by Uchiha Izuna. Seeing Uchiha Madara's sudden realization, Izuna smiled slightly and asked, do you still remember what you did before you came to this space? You fused that serpentine long sword with the sealed state, so I came to this spiritual space. I represent the power of Shu, and it is also the reason why the Reiatsu in your body is always flawed. All doubts were resolved at this moment. Uchiha Izuna is indeed one of the bonds that Madara thinks in his heart. It is precisely because this fetter has been unable to untie, so Uchiha Madara's Reiatsu has never been able to become more perfect. My appearance is not to awaken you Zanpakuto, but to make up for the only flaw. Uchiha Izuna stepped towards Uchiha Madara, with the most sincere smile on that immature face. Just like back then, for the Uchiha clan, for the big brother, willing to sacrifice everything. Uchiha Izuna dropped his arms, put down the sealed state in his hand, and walked in front of Uchiha Madara step by step. No words, just an emotional hug. It is the flower of family love that has gone through the years and never fades. That is the fetter that will never let go after suffering setbacks. For the truly important things, even if you lose your precious life, you must protect them to the end with both hands. If I don't have a sword in my hand, I can't protect you. If I keep holding the sword, I can't hold you tight. That's why Uchiha Izuna appeared, because he also wanted to appear by Madara's side. Support him, protect him. Just because they all have the blood of the Uchiha clan flowing through them. For the glory of the Uchiha clan, for everything that has passed away, even if it can only appear in the spiritual space, there is still no regret. As long as the bond can be continued again, that's enough. Izuna, it's a pity that I failed. In the end, I failed to change the fate of the clan. Why? Uchiha Madara sighed heavily. He had tried and struggled, but the ending ran counter to his original ideal, and he even took an extreme path in the end. I am ashamed of Izuna's sacrifice and the strength Izuna has given. Even if I get eternal light, I still cannot erase the darkness of the ninja world. This is Uchiha Madara's hard knot. Sorry. A sentence blocked by time for decades finally came out of his mouth. Just 3 words, but contains too many emotions. Those all-powerful years, and those clansmen who parted ways. Those powerless dreams, and those passing time. Those fetters that can never be understood, and those family relationships that are always hazy. Everything turned into a drop of bloody tears at this moment, sliding down from the corner of Uchiha Madara's eyes. Whether it is Ninja World, Hawako Mundo, or Soul Society, family affection is the most difficult bond to let go. Family love is the candle in the darkness, illuminating the light and the way forward. The place where brothers embrace each other, where feelings blend together, and where there are people who miss you, is the place where the soul resides in the deepest part. It's okay, you did your best. There is no blame or regret, only the most sincere smile. Uchiha Izuna's face is filled with a bright smile. You only live once in this world. You don't have to choose a path you don't like. It doesn't matter if you live or die according to your nature. But no matter which path you choose, don't forget your nature, big brother. Uchiha Izuna stared at Madara for a long time, eyes full of reluctance, but this scene was seen by Uchiha Madara. Are you leaving? Li Chenjiao, even Uchiha Madara, who is cold on the outside and hot on the inside, finally couldn't suppress her inner emotions. He was very afraid that he would never see him again, afraid that all this was just a beautiful dream. No, although I have to leave, there is a day when we will meet again, and I believe that day is not far away. Uchiha Izuna smiled slightly, and said, before that, you have to defeat the real master of this space, which is the soul of Zanpakuto. I believe you can do it. Goodbye, big brother. Uchiha Izuna's figure gradually blurred, dimmed, and finally disappeared from Uchiha Madara's vision. Don't worry, Yuanshin. No matter who the owner of this space is, no matter how powerful he is, I will definitely hit him and defeat him. Only because you are my dearest brother Graham. Uchiha Izuna's figure gradually dimmed and finally disappeared. The final picture was frozen in that sincere smile. Smile is the universal language to express joy. A smile is the best way to cover up your reluctance. Although this smile disappeared, it became a river buried deep in Uchiha Madara's heart. Forever flowing, with sonorous force. The clear river water is condensed from the tears of big love. Tears are born from the heart and tears fall from love, just like the blood of operator love, flowing from generation to generation in Uchiha. Will be immortal. Izuna, it's a pleasure to have you by your side along the way. A heartfelt smile appeared, adding a lot of vitality to Uchiha Madara's stern face. From now on, he is no longer alone. From now on, he doesn't have to guard alone. The way forward is no longer like clouds that can only drift with the wind. Because I lost, I understand. The road ahead is no longer confused, because the lighthouse of fetters will always illuminate the dark distance. At this moment, Uchiha Madara's eyes regained clarity. He is no longer confused, his heart is like Shisui. More importantly, Reiatsu in the body has also undergone earth-shaking changes. When the hard knot was untied and the bond reappeared, Reiatsu, who was originally violent and even uncontrollable, gradually became stable. It was as if a new force was poured into Reiatsu, and those violent spirits disappeared, replaced by a soft wave. Reiatsu is gentle and stable, and Soul Society's Shinigami is exactly the same. The problem that has been troubling Uchiha Madara has finally been solved, and since then he doesn't have to be afraid of being exposed because of Reiatsu's different identity. With no restraint and care, he can finally unleash that powerful force to his heart's content. Although power itself has no meaning, the person who holds it gives it new meaning. It can be killing, it can be changing, it all depends. And that is the will of Uchiha Madara. That is the will that once overlooked the entire ninja world, that is the will that once violated the gods, and that is the will that is fearless. It's a pity that the virtual hole has not disappeared. Uchiha Madara looked down at his chest. The vacillation there didn't disappear or change, which was what made Madara uncomfortable. It's not perfect, and there is still a crisis of revealing your identity. Once you enter Gote 13, you must be cautious, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. Suddenly, the entire space shook violently, and the sudden change made Uchiha Madara's brows slightly frown. Is it finally coming? The true soul of Zanpakuto. There is no fear, only the burning flames of war. Uchiha Madara's eyes became extremely sharp. He was eager to fight, and even more eager to defeat powerful opponents. The floating clouds collapsed, the dark night sky collapsed, the barren desert dissipated, and the ancient villages were buried. Everything dissipated at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the entire space seemed to be dominated by a mysterious force. The sky turned dark, the ground tore apart, and a strong wind blew in front of Uchiha Madara, making it hard for Uchiha Madara to open his eyes. In the end, the moment he closed his eyes, the entire space disappeared completely. Although nothing was added, Uchiha Madara still felt that he was falling into the boundless darkness. Deathly silence, only the depressing breath that makes people breathless. The boundless darkness is like the nightmare that covers the soul, making people unable to help but despair. Tick, tick, suddenly, a crisp sound came from Uchiha Madara's ear. This feeling is like the morning rain falling from the leaves, symbolizing the birth of hope. Gradually, Uchiha Madara felt as if his body was surrounded by a wave of life energy, constantly nourishing every cell in his body. This feeling is familiar but hard to touch. Uchiha Madara suddenly opened his eyes, but was dumbfounded, as if he saw an incredible scene. What caught my eyes was the all-too-familiar scene, which was a steep valley. In the middle of the valley, a ray descended from the sky, surging. Whenever the water drops in the waterfall fall, they will always be accompanied by the splash of water, which is particularly eye-catching. It is no longer a dark night sky, but also a blue sky with floating clouds. The setting sun is slowly falling, casting a layer of afterglow on the earth and everything. What makes Uchiha Madara most emotional is the two huge statues, which are two indomitable brains. They were wearing armor, with backhand seals, and confronted each other solemnly. Despite being just two statues carved out of stone, they exude an incomparable haki. That feeling is like standing on an unreachable cloud, despising the whole earth with disdainful eyes. The air pressure is everywhere, supercilious. Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama. This is the place known as Changing Fate, the Valley of the End. I didn't expect to come back to this place again. Uchiha Madara stepped towards his statue, couldn't help but sigh with emotion. The Valley of the End is of great significance to him. It is not only the place where the dream ends, but also the place where the dream begins. Uchiha Madara once fought an earth-shattering battle with Senju Hashirama here. That battle lasted for 3 days and 3 nights, and even the landscape was completely changed. It's a pity that Uchiha Madara failed in the end. He and Nine Tails are still not Senju Hashirama's opponent. Ruthlessly judged by fate, Madara was finally beheaded by Senju Hashirama. But Uchiha Madara set Izanagi in one eye in advance, and the spell was automatically activated after the battle, and he finally changed his fate, and continued to live. That battle completely changed Madara's fate, and also made him step into an endless abyss. Brush. Uchiha Madara leaps and jumps on top of his statue. His emotions are complex, and his heart is constantly moving. Returning to this place again, the memories buried in my heart are constantly emerging. At this moment, a voice that made Uchiha Madara's face suddenly changed suddenly sounded, breaking the order of the entire valley. When did you become so sentimental, Madara? A figure appeared on the opposite statue, and seeing that familiar face, Uchiha Madara was stunned. It turned out to be you. Use it. Chapter 71. It's you, Hashirama. What appeared in Uchiha Madara's eyes was a man with a stalwart body. The black hair hangs over the shoulders, the eyes are as deep as the stars, and the whole body is wrapped in the red armor. He has a tall and straight figure, a calm demeanor, and a steady temperament in every gesture of his hands and feet. Once the troubled times were pacified, the tail beasts were evenly distributed to the 5 major countries, and defeated Uchiha Madara in one fell swoop in the Battle of the Valley of the End, and is the only ninja that Uchiha Madara fears. First Hokage, Senju Hashirama. The majestic towering pinnacle of the ninja world, the man who ignited the fire of peace in the world. Therefore, everyone who has seen its demeanor calls it a myth like the Sage of 6 Paths, and is hailed as the God of Ninjas by the ninja world. It's been a long time, Madara, I didn't expect that we would meet again here. Senju Hashirama took the initiative to raise a smile, sincere and moving. Senju Hashirama has a kind personality and always thinks about problems from a certain height. Although he possesses a strength that is superior to the ninja world, he never advocates the use of violence. Actually, both Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara have one characteristic in common, which is the longing for peace. Longing for peace and ending the war, this is the wish of the two since childhood. In that era when there were no 5 great ninja villages, but only major ninja families fought in melee, each ninja group was only employed by others, and there was no fixed organization or country. In order to survive, ninjas at that time could not even disclose their surnames casually. This era came to be known as the chaotic Sengoku era. At that time, Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama were just 2 weak children, unable to change the fate of the family, they could only drift with the war. Until one day, when Uchiha Madara was throwing stones to cross the river, the field came and became a stone-throwing opponent with Madara. The two only told each other their first names because they could not reveal their names. Hashirama also knew that Madara was also a ninja from the way Madara threw stones. Later, the tragedy of the clan, the death of the younger brother made Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama feel deeply powerless. They are eager to change this cruel situation. Soon after, Senju Itama was also killed by the Uchiha clan, and Hashirama came to the river here because of grief. At this time, Madara also came here and understood each other's pain. Uchiha Madara felt that the only way to prevent the death of both parties was to be honest and honest. From that moment on, friendship and bond were established quietly. The two began to exchange skills with each other every day, and their strength continued to improve, gradually growing into an excellent ninja. One day, the two raced to the top of the mountain and talked about their dreams. What do you think dreams are? Hashirama, I think the dream is to build a village to protect the children, so that the children can stay away from the war and live without worry. And what do you think, Madara? I think the dream is to gain great power and protect my brother from being hurt. Scenes that happened before came to mind. Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama looked at each other and smiled, and they could see what the other was thinking. Hashirama, are you my Zanpakuto soul? Uchiha Madara's eyes were burning, and he was eager to hear Hashirama's response. In his eyes, only Senju Hashirama is qualified to be his opponent. As faithful opponents, the blood of fighting each other flows in their bones. What do you think? Even though Uchiha Madara showed a strong fighting spirit, Senju Hashirama still had that gentle smile on his face. As a good friend, Hashirama is well aware that Madara just craves a good fight. Only fighting can awaken the cold blood in his body. There are 2 types of fighting, one is fighting for life, and the other is fighting for fighting. There is no need for any reason to fight. It is enough to satisfy the heart of the strong. Suddenly, a heavy downpour fell from the sky. The rain slanted, dripped on the body, wet the hair, ran across the cheeks, and flowed into the ground along the fingertips. Did you see these raindrops? Senju Hashirama grabbed a ball of rainwater with his palm, and said with dark eyes, these are the tears that are dusty in your heart. Impossible, Uchiha Madara said disdainfully. We should not and will never shed tears. For the heart, it is tantamount to the defeat of the body. It just proves that our heart is redundant. Is that true, Madara? Senju Hashirama smiled and said, you are still the same duplicity as before. It seems that it is difficult to get you to open up your heart completely. You can't be easily confused by your heart. He will lie when he is angry. Want to open my heart? Just talking is not enough, only fighting is the best need. Uchiha Madara was full of fighting spirit, and roared, "Come on, Hashirama, fight me hard." "Hey, you fool, you are still the same as before. But this time, I won't show mercy." Senju Hashirama's eyes became extremely sharp. He waved his backhand, and held a sharp sealed state in his hand. "That look, so good, you are my Zanpakuto soul." Uchiha Madara was overjoyed. He leapt forward, raised the sharp sealed state and slashed at Senju Hashirama. Clang! The sharp blades collided with each other, rubbing violent sparks in midair. The two didn't want to go up and down, and neither showed mercy. They respect each other and respect each other. Only by doing our best to defeat the opponent is the best honor for the strong. Hashirama, this scene is so nostalgic. Uchiha Madara shook Senju Hashirama back violently, with a flash of praise in his eyes. "You cut off the cause and effect in the world and created a world where there are only the strong, only peace, and only love. Do you remember?" Senju Hashirama made mudras with his hands and shouted loudly, "If you want to realize your dream, you must first defeat me. Never show mercy, Madara. In this space, there is only one person who can survive. Wood style, the tree world is coming. Wooden shield, the tree world is coming." Senju Hashirama took the initiative to launch an offensive with his two-handed mudra. When in Ninja World, the battles between the two were often provoked by Uchiha Madara. But this time it's different. Senju Hashirama is a change from normal, because he has a mission that he has to undertake. Because of the fetters, we have been together. Because of friendship, we were able to meet again. Even if the time cannot go back to the beginning, I also hope that the friendship can go to the end. Only because you are also my closest friend, Madara. In fact, Senju Hashirama also has unspeakable difficulties. He doesn't want to confront Uchiha Madara, but the reality is cruel. If Uchiha Madara fails to defeat him, the name of Zanpakuto will not be obtained, and this space will collapse accordingly. If such an ending really happens, then the fetters established through untold hardships will be cut off again. Is failure terrible? Is death terrible? No, none of that is anything compared to the feeling of being alone. If you are afraid of loneliness, if you are afraid of losing your partner, you will become stronger, strong enough to defeat any setbacks. In my heart, you are such a man, Madara. So, wield your blade till one of us falls. Senju Hashirama uses his own Reiatsu as the source of life to trigger the tree world to descend. In an instant, countless huge trees grew from the ground, densely distributed throughout the valley. Under the control of Senju Hashirama, the giant trees quickly gathered and rolled towards Uchiha Madara like a surging Lin-hai. Mighty, unstoppable, still the same, Hashirama. Uchiha Madara seemed to have expected this scene a long time ago. A disdainful smile appeared on the corner of his mouth, and between his hands, a hot flame spit out from his mouth. Fire style, extinguish the fire. The seemingly invincible Lin-hai was blocked by the flames. The moving flames touched the giant tree, making a crackling sound accompanied by a pungent burnt smell. Hashirama, you should be well aware that this method cannot defeat me. I once mastered Rinnegan, also Grandmaster Wooden Shield. Uchiha Madara's meaningful provocation. He cast Shunpo to appear in front of Senju Hashirama, and stabbed the opponent's chest mercilessly with the sealed state in his hand. Stab. The blade was so sharp that it pierced through the skin and stabbed hard into Senju Hashirama's chest. Although the offensive succeeded this time, Uchiha Madara's brows were still slightly raised. Is it the wooden shield clone again? I'm not interested in fighting with you like this. Let's show the real body. Uchiha Madara took back the sealed state proudly, and stared coldly at Senju Hashirama, in front of her. Well, it seems that being too familiar with each other is also a headache. With a helpless sigh, the figure of Senju Hashirama reappeared. He was intact and there were no injuries on his body. Illusion. Just when the two looked at each other, Uchiha Madara's pupils changed, and the three hooks turned rapidly. As the biggest means that can be relied on at present, 3 Tomo Sharingan does play a decisive role. At this moment, a powerful pupil power emanated from Uchiha Madara's eyes, and silently poured into Senju Hashirama's mind. I don't know whether it was breathing or carelessness. At that moment Senju Hashirama didn't move his footsteps, but let his pupils invade his brain. After the illusion, Senju Hashirama's expression became numb, and even his limbs became stiff. The ending speaks for itself. The moment Senju Hashirama falls under the illusion, the battle is over. Hashirama, I really didn't expect it. You have become careless after not seeing you for so long. With a triumphant smile on the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth, he stepped towards Senju Hashirama, the sealed state in his hand gleaming brightly in the setting sun. Whenever the sun and the moon are touched, the world is always changing. If there is one thing that remains the same, it is the feeling of fighting with each other. Thorn. Uchiha Madara came to Hashirama, and the blade in his hand pierced him mercilessly. It turns out Hashirama. Uchiha Madara's eyes gradually dimmed, and there seemed to be a little struggle, a little guilt, and even a little remorse. Uchiha Madara is not willing to see the scene where her best friend died at her own hands. However, for mutual agreement, of the two of them, only one can survive. The sky was gray and the setting sun was shrouded in dark clouds. The once clear sky became pitch black. The cold raindrops are constantly falling, wantonly pouring on the land. Senju Hashirama lay dying on Uchiha Madara's body, with blood spilling from the corner of his mouth. He uttered the last words with all his strength close to Uchiha Madara's ear. Don't feel sorry, Madara, even if I die at your hands, I will have no regrets. Let's live bravely with our agreement, whether it is Ninja World or Soul Society. Leaving the best wishes, Senju Hashirama finally died of exhaustion. Is it really worth it for me to do this? Uchiha Madara's expression was dull. He did win the battle, but he paid a heavy price. The only bond worth cherishing was cut off by himself. It rained non-stop. Blood kept flowing. The whole world is silent, only the sound of the majestic rain. The icy rain ran across Uchiha Madara's cheeks like bitter tears. Whether it is crying, or Jiao is whining, no one knows. Heart bleeding, Uchiha Madara closed his eyes, unable to breathe. Suddenly, he felt Senju Hashirama's body disappear as light spirit particles. The sudden change made Uchiha Madara open his eyes. However, he saw an unbelievable scene. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara stood in front of him smiling, each holding a sealed state in their hands. The majestic downpour disappeared, and a colorful Madara rainbow hung high in the sky. After the rain, the clear air makes people feel like spring breeze. Why are you here? Uchiha Madara was stunned. Didn't he kill Senju Hashirama with his own hands? Madara, Big Brother song. Have you forgotten? We are all part of your soul, and you are the master of this space. As long as you exist, we will never disappear. Did you forget? We are part of your soul. As long as you exist, we will always be with you. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna stood side by side, both with gentle smiles on their faces. The relationship between each Zanpakuto soul and Shinigami is companionship. Live with the soul, die with the soul. Stay away from sadness, stay away from loneliness, never forsake. However, the Shinigami did not know this truth until they defeated the Zanpakuto spirit. Just like a confused person, even if he stretches his arms, pulls out the clouds, and goes straight to the sky. Even if he can touch the moon and stars, he still cannot touch the truth before he truly awakens. No matter how strong you are, don't think about carrying everything alone, because then, the pressure you bear will be too heavy. Senju Hashirama sighed heavily. Madara, do you know what this space used to look like? The sky is always covered with a shadow, and the earth is always wet. There is no light, and darkness is shrouded. The air is cold and the sun is lost. Bright red like blood, pale like bones, lonely like loneliness, suffocating like silence. This is your inner world, and it is also a world covered by lonely tears. Senju Hashirama's voice fell, and the rain and dew permeating the air gathered quietly. In a blink of an eye, the gloomy sky poured down again. Uchiha Madara was silent. He had too much to say at this moment. But when these words were about to pour out, there was a sudden pause. In the face of this unexpected surprise, any language is powerless. Family affection, friendship, these once most precious things once disappeared in Uchiha Madara's world, and they are also the fond memories in the deepest part of his heart. Even if you have Rinnegan, even if you once stood at the top of the ninja world, even if you have daunting power, it is still not as valuable as bondage. It's like falling leaves returning to their roots, fate reincarnation. Uchiha Madara realized all this when he was dying. This is also the reason why this spiritual space was born. He was originally what Uchiha Madara desires most, and it is also the embodiment of Madara's inner emotions. Madara, I often think, if I were the rain, then, can I connect the sky and the earth that have never met in this space, and also connect your heart with me? Senju Hashirama smiled, because I am your Zanpakuto soul. Hearing Senju Hashirama's words, Uchiha Madara lowered his head and let the rain slide down his cheeks. Even if he is a ghost, even if he never has a heart, he can still feel the most sincere emotion at this moment. Even if the time flies and the years pass by, the only thing that remains the same is the common dream and the mutual protection. Time will precipitate the best emotions. Friendship will test the most sincere companionship. This is the true meaning of the soul of Zanpakuto, and also the meaning of the existence of this space. Big brother, do you know where the missing heart went? Uchiha Izuna smiled sincerely. The heart is not in the body. When you are thinking about something, when you are thinking about someone, the heart will be there. We are the heart you've been looking for. Whether it is the power of Hollow, or the power of Shinigami, they are all the power of Uchiha Madara. From the very beginning, Hashirama and Izuna were hidden deep inside Uchiha Madara, but they couldn't communicate. Just because the fetters didn't appear. I used to live in the gap between life and death. I used to be the ghost of the Uchiha clan. I used to bear all the crimes, and I used to be an enemy of the entire ninja world. Uchiha Madara said disdainfully. It is ironic that no one in the huge ninja world understands me. Because they have never stood at the same height as me, and they are not qualified to understand my heart. The only ones who really exist in my heart are you, Hashirama, Izuna. Uchiha Madara finally said this sentence, which also represented that he had untied the only shackles of his soul. At this moment, the heavy rain suddenly stopped, the gloomy dark clouds dissipated, and the depressing atmosphere was swept away. The sky is bright again, and the warm sun shines on the whole earth. The rain that represented loneliness and crying disappeared, and from now on, there is only a bright future that breeds hope and new life. The three people looked at each other and smiled. There is no need for too many words, just a smile can express countless emotions. Senju Hashirama came to Uchiha Madara and asked, Madara, do you still remember Konoha's most precious thing? Where the leaves dance, so does the fire. The fire will continue to illuminate the village and cause new leaves to sprout. When you want to protect the people you cherish the most, the power of ninja and the power of fetters will be truly reflected. Will of fire, Senju Hashirama said. Even when we come to Soul Society, we still can't abandon the belief of ninja, and we can't abandon our ninja way. Suddenly, the sealed state in the hands of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna gradually blurred, dimmed, and finally disappeared in their hands. Their sealed state turned into two of the purest powers pouring into the sealed state in the hands of Uchiha Madara, and the three became one. Uchiha Madara held the sealed state tightly. He could feel the energy contained in the sharp blade. Breathing new life, giving birth to hope, but also giving birth to unprecedented power. You should be able to feel that power, right? The power that belongs to Zanpakuto is also your own power. Senju Hashirama showed a gratified smile on his face, and said, in this way, Izuna and I's mission is also completed. Uchiha Izuna's eyes were dim, and he said in a low voice, although I am very reluctant, I have to say goodbye. Big brother, brandish the knife in your hand and fight as much as you want. Believe me, we will see you next time. With the two most sincere smiles, the figures of Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna gradually blurred and finally disappeared completely. I swear in the name of family and friendship, I swear in the name of fetters and ninja, I will definitely raise my blade to protect everything. Let's dance, Haoyan fan. The moment you touch the blade, your mind is released at the same time. Uchiha Madara was finally able to call out Zanpakuto's name. Let's dance, Haoyan fan. Accompanied by an unwavering voice, a burst of blazing light burst out from within the sealed state. In an instant, the entire space was shrouded in a mass of red light. As if being burned by a blazing flame, the temperature in the space rose sharply. In a blink of an eye, the peaceful valley of the end seemed to turn into an endless hell. Uchiha Madara held the handle of the sealed state knife upside down, the sharp blade reflected a red luster under the scorching sun. Metamorphosis, evolution. Gradually, the appearance of Zanpakuto changed. Red energy poured out to the surroundings, and the shape of the entire blade continued to expand. 2, 4, 1, 3 arcs are formed on the edge of the blade. Finally, the red light gathered, and Zanpakuto was completely shaped, appearing in front of Uchiha Madara. It was a huge round fan, and in the center of the round fan were engraved 2 patterns of 3 curved jade, which seemed to reveal a mysterious force. It really is you. Seeing this familiar round fan, Uchiha Madara was not surprised at all, but showed a smile instead. The Uchiha picture fan is a weapon passed down from generation to generation by the Uchiha family, which symbolizes the clan members' proficient use of fire-style ninjutsu. Therefore, the round fan is also its family emblem. The Uchiha fan appeared when Uchiha Madara fought against first Hokage. After the Battle of the Valley of the End, although Madara was defeated, the Uchiha fan was also taken away by him. Afterwards, the Uchiha fan became an important prop for Obito to conceal his identity. It's a pity that the Uchiha round fan can't exert its original power in his hands, it's just an ordinary weapon. However, after Uchiha Madara Impure World reincarnation, Obito returned the fan to him. Madara showed the power of the Uchiha to the fullest, using Uchiha to bounce off Naruto's tailed beast bomb easily. Only in the hands of the strongest of the Uchiha clan, the Uchiha fan will show its original power. Regaining control of the Uchiha fan, Uchiha Madara seems to have returned to the time of the Fourth Ninja World War. Just one person and one fan has an overwhelming advantage in front of several famous ninjas. Neither the 5 shadows nor the big star beast can stop Uchiha Madara's pace. It's a pity that, with good wishes, they wanted to build an eternal dream, but they fell short in the end. The reckless killing of human life, the never-ending hatred, the incurable pain. The Fourth Ninja World War made the whole world full of chaos, and finally almost fulfilled Kagaya Heim. This is also Uchiha Madara's only regret. Sunrise and sunset, day and night alternate, destiny reincarnation. Reborn soul society, and holding the fetters tightly in the palm of your hand. This time Uchiha Madara doesn't want to fail again, he will try his best to protect all this, forever. Izuna, Hashirama, I'm sure we'll see each other soon. Rest assured, there will be no more rain and no more crying in this space. Uchiha Madara looked up at the sky and murmured in a low voice, because you are happy, I am happy. I am sincerely grateful for the miracle that made us meet again. From then on, there is no arc on the unknown road. Everything gradually blurred, and the entire space slowly became dim. Uchiha Madara was expressionless, not in the slightest panic but had a look of anticipation. He looks forward to being in this spiritual space again, he looks forward to seeing Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna again. Looking forward to the arrival of the next appointment. I will guard the fetters and accompany each other. I am the light in the darkness, the guard beside the abyss, resisting the invasion of darkness. I am the morning light at the dawn, and I will sound the horn of strength to guard the eternal bond. I will protect each other's agreement with my life and strength. As it is today, as it is every day. Slowly opening his eyes, Uchiha Madara scanned the surrounding environment. It is still the familiar layout, the spacious room is decorated with high-end atmosphere, and there is a solid wooden table in the center of the room. Obviously, this is the familiar student dormitory. The consciousness of Uchiha Madara returned to the present world again from the spiritual space of Zanpakuto. In the dead of night, there was no movement around. There is an air of peace and tranquility lurking in the air. Compared with the magnificent reality in the spiritual space, it seems calmer. It's just that Uchiha Madara doesn't reject such tranquility. Because whenever the night is quiet, it is always time to fall into contemplation. The sealed state is still placed on the legs, although nothing has changed in appearance. But when smoothing the blade, Uchiha Madara can feel the unique reiatsu inside the sealed state. Up to now, this sealed state has completely transformed into a butterfly, truly a Zanpakuto. Just the first night of getting the sealed state can awaken Zanpakuto and call out Zanpakuto's name. This kind of speed, even if you look at the entire history of Soul Society, is also called unprecedented. This not only means that Uchiha Madara itself is very talented, but also means that this Zanpakuto has a unique spirituality and unimaginable potential. I wonder if my Zanpakuto and the famous Zanpakuto in Gote 13 are stronger or weaker. Uchiha Madara's eyes were filled with anticipation. Zanpakuto had different abilities and different powers. Ryujin Jaka, Hueishin Aogu, Sogyo no Kotowari, these famous Zanpakuto all have amazing strength, and their owners are also the captains of Gote 13. Challenging and defeating these Zanpakuto is Uchiha Madara's sole purpose, which is why he aspires to join the Gote 13. Some battles rely on strength and blade to win, while others rely on will and faith to win. The only thing that is the same is the heart of the strong. For Uchiha Madara, who once stood at the top of the ninja, only fighting is his only desire, and only power is his only pursuit. No one stands in the sky from the beginning, and no one can easily see the flowers on the edge of the cliff. However, they can bravely take that step, take their own firm steps, and take the belief that belongs to the strong. Night, silently. This is the end of the first day of practicing at the Junyang Lingyuan Academy. Both unremarkable and unexpected, this day not only gained friendship and knowledge, but also gained the shackles that were lost. The heart is no longer empty, and the emotion is no longer empty. Uchiha Madara fell asleep peacefully, with a heartfelt smile on his face. Maybe it's a beautiful dream. And in this dream, he saw Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna again. Time passed by every minute and every second, and when the first rays of sunshine fell on the earth, a new day came. On the road from the college dormitory to Junyang College, two tall and straight figures like guns walked side by side. Uchiha Madara, how is it? Yesterday's training worked. Urahara Kazuki stretched, a look of tiredness still on his face. Last night, in the secret base, Uchiha Madara, Urahara Kazuki, and Shihuin Yoruichi started rigorous training. This training plan was formulated by Shihuin Yoruichi, mainly from Kido and Shunpo. A series of Kido exercises exhausted the Reiatsu in the three of them, which is why Urahara Kazuki still felt tired after a night of adjustment. However, for Uchiha Madara, this consumption can only be counted as a drop in the bucket. As an Ijukas, he has a Reiatsu that is not inferior to the vice-captain level. Compared with the academy's training methods, the effect is more significant. In front of outsiders, Uchiha Madara returned to his ruthless appearance. He didn't deliberately freeze his heart, but his nature. It is almost impossible for Uchiha Madara, whose heart is higher than the sky, to be engraved in his heart and to establish a special bond with him. In the ninja world, until the moment before he died, apart from believing in himself, the only people Uchiha Madara trusted were Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Izuna. Other than that, other people are worthless in his eyes. Oh, what a monster. I'm under a lot of pressure to be with a genius like you. Although Urahara Kazuki said so, his expression was not serious but leisurely. Uchiha Madara, I wonder if you heard anything at night. Suddenly, Urahara Kazuki seemed to remember something and asked in a deep voice. Movement. What movement? Uchiha Madara frowned slightly. For some reason, he always felt that there was an overtone hidden in Urahara Kazuki's words. Although on the surface, Urahara Kazuki is a lazy person. But with his extraordinary experience, Yasubo Madara can see the extraordinariness of Urahara Kazuki at night. Not only is he not a fool, but he is also a thoughtful man with a high IQ. Perhaps Urahara Kazuki's words sound plain, but they often contain some kind of intention. Although this intention is well-intentioned, it can also be called a certain degree of camouflage. Good at disguising, but a terrible skill. The movement caused by the spread of Reiatsu, don't you notice it? Urahara Kazuki said in a deep voice. It is very likely that the sealed state and Reiatsu formed a resonance. Sealed state. I see. It's probably because I'm too tired, I didn't notice any movement. Uchiha Madara is expressionless, no emotion can be seen in his eyes. Oh, even you didn't sense this fluctuation, it seems to be mine. Urahara Kazuki scratched his head in embarrassment, then laughed heartily, and didn't dwell too much on this topic. There were no more words, and the two walked silently on the spacious road. However, the two have different thoughts. It's really not easy to be aware of the awakening of my Zanpakuto. Urahara Kazuki, it's even scarier than I imagined. What a monster to awaken Zanpakuto on the first night. If calling Uchiha Madara a once-in-a-century genius isn't even enough. The expressions of the two were natural, but their hearts were also turned upside down, but they never said it out loud. Soon, along the familiar road, Uchiha Madara and Urahara Kazuki came to their classrooms. Although it wasn't too late, the classroom was already crowded with people. All students look forward to the new course with great anticipation. Since the improvement in strength is obvious, whether it is Shunpo or Kido, both have significant effects. For the students whose mentality has not completely changed, this feeling is wonderful. Da da da. There was a sound of steady footsteps, and the long-awaited figures of all the students finally entered the classroom. Shinigami seems to be in a particularly good mood, entering the classroom with a warm smile. How are you, students? Are you satisfied with your sealed state? Instructor Shinigami smiled and said, I was the same as you decades ago. When I had the sealed state for the first time that night, I was so excited that I couldn't sleep. I know very well that everyone has a dream of being a strong man. Having a sealed state and awakening Zanpakuto is the first step on the road of Shinigami. Instructor Shinigami paused for a moment, and said solemnly, although Zanpakuto is very important, you also cannot ignore the training of Kido and Shunpo. Although Zanpakuto possesses boundless power, if one can reach the pinnacle of the four basic skills, one can also stand at the top of Shinigami. The Shinigami mentor showed regret, and Denuo sighed. Unfortunately, except for the captain of Yamamoto, there is no Shinigami who can do this. Of course, I also hope that the person who breaks this situation will it's one of those here. Well, let's get back to business. The instructor's loud voice spread throughout the classroom. Today we will not only conduct Kido training, but also chopping training. I will arrange for you to conduct one-on-one training with 2 people. In order to save time, the object of grouping is 2 people at the same table. When the teacher's voice fell, Urahara Kazuki and Uchiha Madara looked at each other, and they could see the look of expectation in each other's eyes. As the instructor said, the new lesson is to master Hado after number 10. Although most of the students have not yet mastered the first 10 Kido, the Shinigami instructor ignored them and continued to teach the students step by step. After all, most of the students are just ordinary people, and naturally they cannot comprehend all Kido at once with mediocre qualifications. In this way, under the expectant eyes of many students, the new course began. Hado number 4, Shirai. Hado's 11, Sutras. Hado's 12, Submit the Fire. 31 of Hado, Red Cannon. 32 of Hado, the Yellow Fire Flashes. Instructor Shinigami patiently performed the Kido technique according to the serial number. Whether it is the role of Reiatsu or Hado's chance, they are all explained clearly. Not only Hado, but also Bakudo, which has a supporting role, is taught one by one in order. It can be said that this class is worth 1,000 gold, not to mention whether the students can digest and master it. They were dazzled by all kinds of cool Hado. In fact, for most students, they are just playing the role of soy sauce. And Shinigami instructors don't expect them to be able to master all Kido in one day's lessons. After all, in the entire history of Junyongaling Academy, most of the students need to spend 3 to 5 years to graduate smoothly. Because they take years to learn to get a better grasp of Kido. What's more, even after spending so much time, most of the students still cannot master Kido or even release high-level thoughts after joining the Gotei 10 main team. I have to say that this has always been a pity for Junyonglingyuan Academy, and it is also a headache for all instructors. However, no one thought of it. 2 unprecedented geniuses appeared in this class of students. Uchiha Madara, Urahara Kazuki. One of them has unparalleled talent, and the other has a proud brain. Even if the instructor only demonstrates each Kido once, they can still remember it by heart. At the same time, eager eyes appeared in the pupils of the 2 of them. The desire for power made them keep their eyes on, for fear of missing any small details. Perhaps because of the stunning performance in the first class, most of Shinigami's instructors' eyes were focused on Uchiha Madara. He knew very well that it is better to concentrate on cultivating a genius than to cast a net. Therefore, whenever it was time for practice, the teacher Shinigami stepped down from the podium to teach Uchiha Madara Kido hand in hand. As Madara's tablemate, Urahara Kazuki also took advantage. Although he was silent, he kept watching Shinigami teacher's movements. Due to the close distance, no detail can escape those bright eyes. In a blink of an eye, most of the day passed, and the Kido course ended naturally. Just as the Shinigami instructor expected, most of the students got nothing, they were soy sauce from the beginning. Only Uchiha Madara and Urahara Kazuki made leaps and bounds. Although they have not revealed their strength, they have firmly grasped Kido. If this news gets out, it will definitely cause an uproar, even Gotei 13. Because even some captains of Gotei 13 can't do that. When the afternoon came, it was quickly time for the chopping class that Uchiha Madara and Urahara Kazuki were looking forward to. As a Shinigami, chopping is a must-have skill. Although compared to the gorgeous Kido, the slashing technique seems ordinary, but it contains a power that cannot be underestimated. As the Shinigami teacher said, as long as you master one of the 4 major skills, you can become famous in Gotei 13. Therefore, beheading is also an important means of attack. In a brightly lit classroom, the voice of the Shinigami instructor, CCFI, sounded again. Students, this is the cutting technique class that you have been waiting for a long time. I think you are also very clear that the purpose of this course is to form a group between the same table and compete with each other. Instructor Shinigami cleared his throat and said loudly, before Zanpakuto awakens, the sealed state is just an ordinary sharp weapon for you. Therefore, the chopping technique is particularly important at this time. Having a skilled chopping technique, one can often launch the fiercest offensive, and even kill with one blow at critical moments. And the beheading technique is also divided into two-handed beheading technique and one-handed beheading technique. The Shinigami instructor patiently explained. The one-handed slashing technique is suitable for Shinigami who are more sensitive, and they are often proficient in Shunpo. The combination of the two is amazing. The two-handed slashing technique is suitable for people with strong Reiatsu. Only in this way can the Reiatsu in the body be released as much as possible, and rely on the advantage of strength to defeat the opponent. Instructor Shinigami smiled slightly, and said, the advantages and disadvantages of the two cutting techniques depend on your respective conditions. Then, without further ado, let's start contacting each other. When his voice fell, the whole classroom was in full swing. The trainees take off the Zanpakuto worn around their waists, and train with each other. Clang! The collision between the blades made a crisp sound. In the corner of the classroom, 2 figures stood facing each other. Oh, the instructor is such a chatterbox, it's finally time to start. After a rant, Urahara Kazuki's expression changed from normal and became extremely serious. So, Uchiha Madara, which slashing technique would you choose to use? Urahara Kazuki held up Zanpakuto, smiled meaningfully. I knew you would put on such a cold expression, it seems that I still need to take the initiative to launch an offensive. Brush. Before Urahara Kazuki could finish his words, his body was as fast as lightning, and he appeared in front of Uchiha Madara in an instant. It's not enough, Urahara Kazuki. Show your full strength, otherwise, I'm not interested in fighting a weakling. Uchiha Madara unhurriedly pulled out Zanpakuto, easily parrying Urahara Kazuki's slash. Boom. The eyes of the two are reflected on the white blade, but it is a look of ecstasy when they meet an equal opponent. The collision between sword blades symbolizes the duel between the strong. Urahara Kazuki, show off your full strength. If your slash is only this level, it's just vulnerable. Uchiha Madara held up Zanpakuto and slashed in the air, this time with all the power of Uchiha Madara in the strike. A merciless sword represents Madara's determination. The blade can only take away the life of a soldier, but it cannot take away the glory that is carried on him. For a fighter, the best praise is not to be merciful, but to try his best to defeat him and defeat him. The sharp blade gradually enlarged in the eyelids, Urahara Kazuki's pupils suddenly shrank, and he was able to adhere to the will of the blade within a short distance. That is a representative of perseverance, that is a model of a soldier, and that is a symbol of strength. Just because the name of the master of this will is Uchiha Madara. Boom. To be reasonable, although Urahara Kazuki has the strongest brain, he is not good at chopping. Facing the menacing slash that was oncoming, he didn't dare to hold back in the slightest. It's like returning the exact words of Urahara Kazuki's previous question. Will you choose the backhand slashing technique, or the two-handed slashing technique? Today, the choice is not made by Uchiha Madara, but by Urahara Kazuki herself. Drink. Urahara Kazuki grasped Zanpakuto's hilt with both hands, and slashed forward fiercely. This slash also contained the will of Urahara Kazuki. The will to be unwilling to be restrained and eager for innovation and breakthrough. Boom! The collision between the blades is not only a duel of strength, but also a competition of will. Great look, finally saw a funny guy besides Hashirama. But Uchiha Madara raised a sharp arc at the corner of his mouth. Will alone can't defeat me. Will is different from power. It is just the interaction between matter. The only thing that can be reached is the power firmly grasped. Uchiha Madara pressed hard, knocking Urahara Kazuki back. Unknowingly, both Urahara Kazuki and Uchiha were intoxicated in this chopping competition. Eager to fight, eager to win, this is Uchiha Madara's belief. Being able to defeat a genius without mercy is not as good as standing at the top of the ninja world, but it is also a kind of fun. Only battle can burn the cold blood, only battle can awaken the cold heart. Bang bang bang. There were several sharp slashes, and Urahara Kazuki had nothing to do except passive defense. In any case, in terms of chopping skills, he is indeed inferior to others. In the same way, Urahara Kazuki has a turbulent heart. Only after fighting Uchiha Madara in person can you feel the unbelievable fighting spirit. Now you are not wielding your sword purely based on your fighting spirit, but purely on instinct. That kind of sword cannot defeat me. Uchiha Madara held Zanpakuto flat by his side, and said in a cold voice, a blade without the will to fight is like a bird or beast without wings, and it has no right to witness the vastness of the sky. Brush. A merciless sword contains the strongest fighting spirit. Although Urahara Kazuki left early to prepare, he still couldn't hold back. Da da da. Staggering back and forth, Urahara Kazuki gritted his teeth and finally stabilized his body. You win. 3 simple words, but contain too many emotions. On the surface, this is just an ordinary swordsmanship competition. However, only Urahara Kazuki and Uchiha Madara know. This is a duel of wills between the strong. Although the two wills are quite different. The dominance of Uchiha Madara and the mystery of Urahara Kazuki collided in the most brilliant moment. Your meaning is not strong enough, you can't defeat me with that level. Uchiha Madara's eyes were burning, he put away Zanpakuto, and didn't have any more words. I see. I seem to understand. Urahara Kazuki's eyes flickered, as if he had realized something. The entire classroom is filled with the crisp sound of blades colliding, which can be heard endlessly. The duel between Urahara Kazuki and Uchiha Madara went largely unnoticed as dozens of cadets were engaged in fencing competitions. As time went by, most of the students were sweating profusely. They either sat on the ground or leaned against the corner. Most of them were panting and seemed exhausted. After scanning every face with his eyes, the Shinigami teacher raised a gratified smile at the corner of his mouth, as if he was satisfied with the efforts of all the students. He looked out the window at the sky that was dyed red by the morning glow, coughed lightly, and said, "Yes, I am very satisfied with your performance. You must always keep in mind that if you want to become a real strong man, you have to do your best. Dreams come true, and those who only talk about it are just the weak among the crowd. Okay, that's all for today. Go back, one day you will become truly strong. I believe that day will not be far away." With the sound of the instructor falling, the day's class is over. Although for ordinary students, they don't gain much. But for Uchiha Madara and Urahara Kazuki, this day means a lot. That was the first face-to-face conversation between the two of them, and it was also a real understanding of each other. As night falls, the sun rises slowly from the horizon. The days of Shino Academy are like stars revolving around the sun, day after day, ordinary. 1 month, 3 months, 6 months. Time always slips through the fingers unknowingly. If you don't pay attention deliberately, no one will find that a year has passed like this. The arrival of a new day may not have any special meaning for ordinary students. But for Uchiha Madara, this day has a special meaning. I have been practicing for a whole year at the Junyang Lingyuan Academy. Regardless of the 4 aspects of chopping, Kido, Shunpo, and white hits, Uchiha Madara has achieved achievements that ordinary people cannot understand. The blue is better than the blue, and when the Shinigami teacher also admitted that Uchiha Madara is better than him, the long-awaited moment finally arrived. Graduation assessment. After the special negotiation of the Shinyang Academy, as long as Uchiha Madara can pass the assessment, she can graduate smoothly and become the new member of Gotei 13-8. Reasonably speaking, if the normal procedure is followed, the graduation assessment will be held in 3 to 5 years. After all, most of the students will graduate at that time. But Uchiha Madara's progress is so fast that he has even mastered all the basic skills, and even the Shinigami instructor has to admit that Uchiha Madara has surpassed him. This incident not only shocked the senior management of Junyang Lingyuan Academy, but also caused an uproar in the entire academy. No matter who it was, the first moment they heard the news was a stunned expression, and they even suspected that they were hallucinating. It only took 1 year to successfully graduate. Even if you look at the Neat Soul Society, there will never be more than 5 people who can do this. In the early morning, the student dormitory is on the road leading to the students. 043. Do you know that a rare genius appeared in our class, and it took only 1 year to graduate? How is it possible? I haven't even mastered the 32 of Hado, and he graduated. He is right. I also know that person. It seems to be a guy named Uchiha Madara. He usually looks very proud, but I didn't expect him to be a genius. What do you know? Geniuses naturally have the capital of arrogance, and it's normal to be tall. Talk about Uchiha Madara filled every corner of Maoling Academy. No matter if they were students from the same class or previous classes, all of them showed unimaginable expressions. For a long time, they have always regarded graduation in 1 year as a legend, thinking that it is an impossible thing to accomplish. However, the appearance of Uchiha Madara has subverted their concepts. There is nothing impossible in the world, it just depends on whether you have a fearless heart. The reason why people think the flowers on the edge of the cliff are beautiful is that they will stop at the cliff, not like those flowers who are not afraid of things. Take a brave step towards the sky. On the other side, located in the depths of the Maoyang Academy, in an empty room. It occupies a vast area, the light is transparent and bright, and the fresh air can be faintly breathed through the windows. In the very center of the room, there was a luxurious and long and narrow wooden table, and 4 Shinigami in black death suits sat behind the wooden table. Although their faces are expressionless, they all look indifferent, but if you observe carefully, it is not difficult to find the complex emotions hidden deep in the pupils. Both skeptical and somewhat hopeful. The 4 dead Shendu are the most outstanding mentors of Junyang Lingyuan Academy, and they have made small achievements in the 4 aspects of chopping, Kido, Shunpo, and white hits respectively. And their task today is to assess Uchiha Madara. In other words, Madara is going to beat them all. Time continued to pass, and the atmosphere gradually became dignified. There seemed to be an indescribably oppressive atmosphere hidden in the air, making people breathless faintly. The 4 instructors all lowered their heads, staring at the wooden table intently. Their slender fingers kept tapping on the wooden table, making rattling noises. Just when the anxiety in their eyes reached a certain level, the closed door was suddenly pushed open. Creak. The door was pushed open, and a figure entered the room. This figure is not tall, but he has a tall and straight figure, and his hands and feet reveal an invisible haki. Especially the supercilious look in his eyes contained the confidence to despise everything. Taking steady steps, Uchiha Madara walked to the wooden table without haste. Are you Uchiha Madara? One of the mentors raised his eyelids, and his sonorous voice broke the silence of the room. That's right, an understatement of the response, without any flattery. In front of the 4 most outstanding instructors at Maoling Academy, Uchiha Madara did not change his face. Uchiha Madara, you are indeed as rumored, a genius with a heart higher than the sky. There is not only a trace of dissatisfaction in this sentence, but also a bit of appreciation. As the mentor with the most senior qualifications, since the establishment of Shino Spiritual Academy, no matter which student sees them, they will show respect. Even Kiraku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukitaki, who have become Gotei 13, are no exception. But Uchiha Madara can be like a Shisui, free from outside influences, which is really commendable. To be able to master all the basics in a year's time, your talent is undeniable. One of the instructors praised, it's best to describe you as a rare one in 100 years. But, genius and graduation are 2 different things, and it is not an easy thing to pass our assessment. Another mentor chimed in, yeah, don't take any chances. Even if you're a genius, we'll be absolutely fair. So that's the case, then, can we start the assessment? Before teacher Shinigami finished speaking, Uchiha Madara interrupted. HMPH, the genius is really unexpected. Instructor Shinigami seemed dissatisfied, and snorted coldly. First take out your Zanpakuto, and show us your Shikai. If you want to enter Gote 13, Shikai is the primary ability to master. Everyone's Shikai is different, and their abilities are also different. But it is the best way to measure a Shinigami's combat power. Therefore, your Shikai largely determines the result of this assessment. 21. Master Shinigami spread his hands and said calmly, let's begin then, Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara's palm extended out of the sleeve robe and rested on Zanpakuto's sword hilt. With a little force on the palm, the sharp blade was pulled out of the scabbard. Clang! The sunlight that penetrated into the room through the gap in the window refracted on the blade, shining brightly. At this moment, the atmosphere in the room became extremely dignified. The eyes of the 4 instructors were all fixed on Uchiha Madara. They stared intently and held their breath, for fear of missing this exciting scene. Look, this is my Shikai. Uchiha Madara held Zanpakuto with his backhand, and he couldn't help but see Senju Hashirama, Uchiha Izuna in his mind. Looking at the sincere smiles on the faces of the two, a proud smile appeared on the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth. Let's dance, Haoyan destroys the fan. Let's dance, Haoyan fan. This voice is not loud, but it contains an undoubted haki, as if he has seen all the glitz of the world, understood the sentiments of the world, and completely got rid of the shackles that bind the soul. This voice goes deep into the soul, this voice hits the depths of the heart. In a trance, it can even resonate. That is the voice of seeing through reality, cutting vain, lonely, and helpless. That is the voice of firm will, pursuit of firmness, strength, and strength. This voice is incomparable, and it is impossible to be surpassed. Just because the owner of this voice is the best fighter. Be fearless and go forward. Just because he is Uchiha Madara. When the Shikai words of Zanpakuto fell, a blazing light burst out from the transparent and slender blade. The originally dimly lit room was instantly brightened by the dazzling red light. The high-temperature light burns the skin like a flame. The skin of the 4 Shinigami mentors tingled, and they felt burning pains in their arms. In an instant, the pupils of the 4 shrank suddenly. They opened their mouths in astonishment and said, "Is this Zanpakuto of the fire department?" Although it was only the first impression, the 4 mentors still felt that they were Zanpakuto of the fire department, because the scorching heat even made them feel afraid. As we all know, Zanpakuto is divided into many categories. And different categories have different capabilities. Fire, water, ice, physics, Kido, etc. Among them, the Zanpakuto of the fire department symbolizes dominance and destructive power, and each Zanpakuto of the fire department has a power that cannot be underestimated. Among them, the one that shakes the entire Soul Society is the Ryujin Jaka, which is known as the strongest Zanpakuto, and his master is the captain of Gote 13. Known as the strongest Shinigami in the millennium, Yamamoto Genryusai. It turned out to be Zanpakuto of the same fire element as the captain. How scary. Every fire Zanpakuto has endless potential, even bringing back great help in the early stages of Shinigami. After all, the power of flames is hard to resist, and being able to skillfully manipulate flames is even more terrifying. The red light is getting stronger and stronger, and the momentum of Uchiha Madara is getting stronger and stronger. When the red light was almost solidified, Zanpakuto's appearance finally changed. Red light gushed out to the surroundings, and the entire blade continued to expand, forming 2 arcs on both sides of the blade. A round fan engraved with 3-hook jade appeared in the hands of Uchiha Madara, and at this moment Madara was like a rainbow. Although he was only a student, he overwhelmed the 4 instructors in terms of momentum. Uchiha fan. Is this your Zanpakuto? The 4 instructors stared at the fan in surprise, as if it was a bit unexpected. Although the fan is large in size, it contains a special kind of energy. It's not like the dominance of flames, but more like the mystery of illusion. This subtle feeling confuses the instructors. If it is a fire-type Zanpakuto, this kind of complicated feeling should not appear. Very extraordinary Zanpakuto. However, I don't know what kind of ability your Zanpakuto has. The instructors first praised, and then showed a meaningful smile. They were also eager to see how powerful this unique Zanpakuto could be. Want to know Haohuo's ability to extinguish fans? A slight smile appeared on the corner of Uchiha Madara's mouth, and he said firmly, "Then try your best to attack me." What? The four instructors were taken aback, and then they grumbled with cold faces, "Uchiha Madara, are you provoking us?" Provocative. Uchiha Madara shook his head and said indifferently, "I think you have misunderstood. The so-called provocation is an act between the weak and the strong. But we are standing at the same height. So there is no so-called provocation. Quote, if you want to know my Zanpakuto ability, then just shoot me. Remember, don't show mercy." When Uchiha Madara's words fell, the four mentors took a deep breath. Their breathing gradually became heavy, as if an unknown fire was growing in their hearts. After so many years, they have seen all kinds of students. But I have never seen a student as confident as Uchiha Madara. Even the most outstanding students in the history of Junshu, Hiroku Shunsui and Jashiro Yukitaki, did not have the courage to dare to challenge their mentors. "Let me do it." The bald instructor in the center of the four stood up and came to the wooden table. He stared closely at Uchiha Madara's eyes, clenched his palms tightly, and said in a cold voice, "Uchiha Madara, this assessment was originally specially formulated for you. According to the normal process, there will be 4 links. You will be assessed separately from Kido, Shunpo, Zanshu, and White Hits, which is why the 4 of us appear here at the same time. But," the bald instructor paused, and said in a deep voice, "since you have asked so, I will naturally not show mercy. In order to ensure the fairness of the assessment, the 4 links have been cancelled." He stretched out his arms and said solemnly, "As long as you can take my trick, then you will pass the graduation examination." Not only was Uchiha Madara not touched at all, but he said lightly, "It's a wise decision, just to avoid unnecessary cumbersome procedures. Go ahead." From the beginning to the end, Uchiha Madara's eyes were as firm as ever. That tall and straight figure is like an untouchable city wall. Be fearless. The bald instructor snorted coldly, folded his hands, and chanted from his mouth. Bones of beasts scattered all over the place. Spires, red crystals, wheels of steel. Moving is wind, stopping is empty, and the sound of spears clashing fills the empty city. Hado no 63, Cannon. Under the full strength of the bald instructor, Reiatsu rioted all over his body, and the blast formed by thunder and lightning gushed out from his palm, rolling towards Uchiha Madara menacingly. The thunderstorm gradually enlarged in the eyes, and at this critical moment, Uchiha Madara calmly raised the Uchiha round fan to block in front of her. A disdainful smile emerged on his face. Uchiha bounces back. When the raging thunderstorm blasted towards Uchiha Madara, it was blocked by the huge round fan. Zzz. The thunder danced wildly like a vicious python, and the lightning arcs were like sharp blades, roaring unscrupulously in the air. The gloomy room is illuminated brightly by the flashing thunder, making people unable to help but have the illusion, as if the whole house is immersed in a sea of light. Uchiha Madara, if you can block the fiery lightning howl who is fully singing, it will prove that your strength has surpassed ours. At this time, the bald-headed Shinigami seemed to be the Raiden King Rise who controlled the thunder, and the veins on his face burst out, and he roared with all his strength, "Prove yourself, Feng Zibo Madara. Defeat me and prove that you are the best student in Mao's history." Accompanied by the roar of the bald mentor, the power of fiery lightning howl reached its peak. Once the violent thunder completely exploded, the whole house would be destroyed. However, the expressions of the other 3 mentors watching the battle changed in shock, as if they saw an unbelievable scene. Under the strong offensive of fiery lightning howl, imagine that the scene of Uchiha Madara's rout not only did not happen, but exceeded their expectations. From the beginning to the end, Uchiha Madara did not back down at all. He was as steady as Mount Tai, waving the Uchiha fan calmly. "This is the fiery lightning howl completely chanted. Isn't it too ugly if it's only this level? With such a technique, I want to do nothing to me. As an opponent, you shouldn't be surprised, right?" Uchiha shook his head in disappointment. A contemptuous arc appeared on the corner of his mouth. If this is the strength of Mao's best mentor, it would be too disappointing. Madara's eyes suddenly became sharp, his arms tensed, and he shouted, "If this is the case, then this assessment has no meaning at all. Let me end it myself." Uchiha rebound. At this moment, the 3 instructors watching the battle from behind seemed to have an illusion. A strange reiatsu spread from the surface of the fan, continuously covering the surface of the thunderstorm. Under the influence of this force, the thunderstorm suddenly became docile. What's more important is that they condensed in the direction, and then bombarded him under the unbelievable eyes of the bald instructor. Although there are many ways to defeat a person, but if you can completely return the moves that a person is proud of, this method may be more unforgettable. Uchiha Madara lowered his arms and lowered the round fan that stood in front of him. He smiled meaningfully. Is it a wonderful feeling to be defeated by one's own tricks? Hado no 63, Fiery Lightning Howl. Under the desperate eyes of the bald mentor, the violent thunder blasted at him aggressively. At this moment, even though he is a senior instructor of the Junyang Lingyuan Academy, there is no smile on his face, only the expression of horror. How is this possible? It can completely rebound Kido. The bald tutor had a stormy sea in his heart. Up close, he could feel the reiatsu in Fiery Lightning Howl. This reiatsu didn't weaken at all, instead it blasted towards him as it was. This kind of heaven-defying ability was beyond his expectation. 39 of Bakudo, the round gate fan. Although his mind was disturbed, Jong was still old and hot. As a senior mentor, the bald head quickly reacted. He folded his hands, and reiatsu emerged, forming a circular protective shield in front of him. At the same time, Fiery Lightning Howl hit the protective shield just right. Boom! A deafening explosion sounded, and the whole room was once again filled with light. Wow! The three instructors at the back let out a muffled groan, and kept stepping back. Even if they are not weak, they are afraid of the power of Fiery Lightning Howl. The three had to worry about the bald mentor. After all, it was Fiery Lightning Howl completely sung. As expected of a genius, he has already won no matter what. The instructors couldn't help but sigh when they looked at the calm Uchiha Madara. The promise of one move is also a condition for graduation. Uchiha Madara not only blocked Fiery Lightning Howl unscathed, but also sent him back, leaving the bald instructor in a mess. Card wipe. Suddenly, a crisp sound sounded, and the seemingly unbreakable protective shield shattered. After the protective shield shattered, the figure of the bald mentor also appeared in everyone's field of vision. His clothes were torn, his breath was weak, and he looked very embarrassed. Obviously, even blocking Fiery Lightning Howl cost him dearly. Gulu Wei. Witnessing the failure of the bald tutor, the other three tutors swallowed heavily. Such a visual effect was so shocking that they couldn't accept it for a while. Can I go? Uchiha Madara was expressionless, and did not show any pride in defeating the bald teacher. In his opinion, this is just a trivial matter. Uchiha Madara didn't intend to stay longer. He turned and walked towards the door without hesitation. When he was about to reach the door, the voices of the instructors came from behind. Wait a minute, Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara stopped, and immediately turned to look at the four mentors indifferently. You are very strong, stronger than I imagined. Being able to possess such terrifying strength in just 1 year proves that your talent is above everyone else. The bald instructor stood up reluctantly, sighed of Li Qian, and said, although I don't want to admit it, I was indeed defeated by you. Uchiha Madara, from today onwards, you have successfully graduated from the Shinigami Academy and have the qualifications to join Gotei 13. The bald instructor smiled gratifiedly and said, in 3 days, there will be an oath to join the team. With your talent, you must have the right to choose your team freely. Go, these 3 days will be your vacation. Enjoy the last piece. Once you join Gotei 13, you have to bear the responsibility of guarding Jinglingting. Gotei 13. I'm really looking forward to it. Uchiha Madara smiled, turned and left the room. The four mentors watched Madara's back gradually disappear, feeling mixed feelings in their hearts. For some reason, they always had a premonition. Perhaps one day in the future, this man will become the legend of Gotei 13. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.